Hello, we are live. I'm just finishing up some tomato soup. Oh shit, I just broke my light. Hang on. It's got this, it's one of those lamps that has this, shield around it, and that keeps coming off. It's really annoying. But let me just try and get this. Oh dear. It's not the best lighting, is it? It's raining in Sydney at the moment, so we're in here. Hey Danny, how's it going? Are you in America? Do you guys have like that 4th of July Independence Day or whatever it is at the moment? I'm not really up to speed with America. I can't remember who's in America and who's in Australia. I get confused. Anyway, yeah, so we're in here because it's raining in Sydney. And the other room that I usually go in, like it'd probably be okay because I think the camera adjusts for when things are dark. Hey Charles, I'm wearing my closest as possible to spacey sort of shirt. I don't know how much you can see the sort of space things on it, but yeah, it's mostly a tiger overlaid on the space shirt. So on the back though is black. I just sort of got some inspiration from Instagram. Hey, yeah, okay, well, happy as Independence Day. I get confused about which American things are which, but happy celebration. I've never seen the Independence Day movie, actually. So there's that too. I don't even know the alien version. Oh, okay, American and Germany. That's right. That's probably why I keep getting confused, hey. Yeah, I just got some tomato soup. The little satchel version. I haven't finished it. Yeah, okay, so what's been going on? So on Patreon I've put my latest work in progress music thing. That's coming along well. And then after I posted it and finally got myself to bed, just as I was about to fall asleep, suddenly these lyrics popped into my head and I was like, oh my god, that actually works well. So I had to, just roll over, grab my phone, quick type it in, and then leave the screen open so I'd see it in the morning and remember that that actually happened. So I popped that into my Word document and did a little run through with the quiet vocal fry, because I wasn't really feeling like growling properly first thing in the morning. So yeah, I'm starting to get some more ideas about how I want to develop that song. So that's on Patreon. Yeah, and so I've got to keep writing that. What else is happening? I finally put up the Destroyer playlist. So there's only one video in it at the moment. I actually tried to set it up so that when it was scheduled to be published, it would just automatically go into the playlist, but for some reason that didn't work. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I need to check my settings for that. But that's there. I've started sort of working on the next video for that. Just like getting ideas and filmed a couple of short things. Otherwise, what's going on? I still have a Punk Rave Australia video waiting in my video queue. I'm just waiting for them. Barbecues are popular on the 4th of July. Oh, okay, so it's a bit like Australia in that sense. We tend to have barbecues on, Australia Day? Australia Day's a weird one because it's not one that was celebrated for ages and ages. I think it's only a few decades ago someone brought it up, and so there's a bit of controversy about, whether or not we should really have picked that day, but I feel like no day will make everyone happy. That's its own little controversy, because, so, I think it's meant to be the day that, Captain Cook, was like, hey, we're gonna claim Australia for Britain or something. So obviously from the native population's perspective, it's more like an invasion day. But if you tried to keep the same Australia kind of thing on any other day, it would still represent that kind of event, so I don't think there's any way to really make it happy, although I kind of like the idea of changing it to May 8th, because then you can have that M8, mate, and, it's a sort of Aussie thing. Barbecues, yeah. Barbecues are also the way they lure us out to vote. So, I mean, wherever I go to vote, there's never a democracy sausage thing set up, so I always miss out on the barbecues, but, yeah, that's, if you want to get Aussies to vote, have a barbecue, and then even if you can't get to the barbecue, a lot of people will go to Bunnings afterwards, which is like, a hardware store, and they often have barbecues on a Saturday, and we always have our elections on a Saturday because that makes it easier for people to go to vote. I think in America you vote on Tuesday or something random like that. I don't understand that. Alright, so, fireworks are ending, the dogs are finally relaxed. Oh, yeah! I sort of vaguely have the idea that fireworks are a big thing over there. We have fireworks too for some stuff, but I think our biggest ones are for New Year's Eve. So in Sydney, we get the Harbour Bridge all set up with explosives, and you know that all goes off. When I was younger, we used to go because my grandparents used to live sort of close to the Harbour Bridge, so you know they sort of shut off all the streets so that to get in, if you don't get in before a certain time, the only way you're able to get in is if you're a resident. So my grandpa used to come out past the you know, the barrier, get into one of our cars and then get us in, and then come out and do the same thing and keep getting more family members in. It was pretty funny. I'm sure like the cops at the barrier were like, oh my god, it's this old man again. But you know, they can't say no, so that's how we used to get in. This is before they really got strict about attendance at the New Year's Eve things though. So yeah. And then, you know, when I was younger, when I was a kid, okay, maybe it was exciting, especially back then because they always had weird new stuff they were trying, whereas now I feel like the fireworks, it's basically the same thing every time, and you get a better view on the TV anyway if you can be bothered, and I can't be bothered because it's just the fireworks. They never play music I like. I suppose I could turn off the music and then just have my own music, but then you don't hear the explosions. Although we're sort of close enough to one of the fireworks areas, because they do it all up along that, you know, there's the main Sydney Harbour one, but they also do it all the way up the river further along, and, you know, people do other fireworks in other locations, so we can sometimes hear a little bit of it. Anyway, fireworks and celebrations and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep trying to make my way through this tomato soup before it gets cold. I'm always like, well, I'm not always eating something. Sometimes I'm a little bit more prepared. Otherwise, it's like tea. I've also got a teacup in my dialect today. Anyway, so that's a sort of introductory ramble. Hey, alright, what's been going on? I think I said in this description I might talk about gaming. The reason for that, I kind of want to get you guys' idea on a thing because, so I went to a job interview a couple days ago, and it's kind of unusual, and I'm sort of like, well, it'd be a good opportunity, but I do have some, little concerns, and, you know, not entirely sure. So basically what the job is they want to pay someone to basically be a full-time YouTuber. It's very unusual. Yeah, and like there's no requirements on having a following already. It's so, but the thing is, it's like for a gaming thing. So basically, it's a game development company wants to start a YouTube. Well, I think they've already got a YouTube, but they want to make their own influencer. So I went in, like, I had a whole bunch of questions. I've probably still got them somewhere. Where did I put my questions? Yeah. Is that one? Is that the one? No. Oh, it must be in my bag. So, yeah, the indie gaming studio, they basically want to create their own influencer. I thought, like, the ad was a little bit vague, so at first I thought, like, you know, obviously it's a company, right? And so you'd assume they'd want their own games promoted. But it turns out actually what they're going for is they want to create their own influencer who just does all kinds of games. Because, I mean, they only have one game out. They're a very new indie game company. And I think their idea is like, what did they say? They know other indie game companies who've been around for a while and not much was happening, but then some influencer would pick up their game, and that's when they'd take off. And, you know, people would take notice of their game. And they've tried approaching influencers to get that to happen for their game, but so far it hasn't. So their idea is like, let's create our own influencer. And I'm like, okay, that's a really interesting approach. And yeah, we had a good chat about the kinds of things that they'd be looking for. And So like it went pretty positively, and now I'm just gonna make like a 30 to 60-second clip of like an example of something I might do. It's just I I'm not like a huge gaming person. I play games sometimes, but when I think about the idea of having a full-on gaming channel, I'm a little bit intimidated because, you know, I haven't kept up with the news. It would be a big learning curve in that sense. Um, so I'm sort of like, on the one hand, you know, it's fairly low pressure. They're not like, oh, you have to get this many subscribers in this amount of time or anything. And they'd help out with some stuff and whatever. Um, it's just, yeah, I'm sort of trying to decide what to think about that. Do they want someone to play a character or be themselves? Um, I think it's trying to be themselves, really, but you know, you've got to be able to speak well on camera, and that, I mean, the way I speak on camera is different to how I speak in real life. It's just, it's the nature of the camera. If you try to talk to the camera exactly the same way that you would talk to another person, it doesn't really translate. And you know, it's not something I think about doing, it's just something that happens. When I'm talking to the camera, I just go into camera mode. Yeah, so like, you know, being yourself, what does that really mean? I didn't get the sense that they were going to try and pressure a particular perspective or anything. They want to actually try and get someone to be an influencer. And the idea was like they'd pay this person so that they don't have to worry about, you know, like trying to pay bills, which like when you go out and get another job, it can be quite distracting. And because videos take time. When I do my Punk Rave Australia videos, you know, I'll spend time planning it, and then it takes a few hours to film all the different bits, and then I've got to go back and edit it. And no thanks to my slow computer, it takes quite a long time to edit it. So actually, I'm going to have to get a new computer at some point, especially if I was going to do this kind of thing, because it's kind of like a half work from home, half work in the office kind of thing. And my home computer, I feel like, if I was trying to stream games, for example, good luck. You know, like I've got the basics set up, but if it was a complicated game especially, my computer's not going to handle it. I've got on Steam Civilization Beyond Earth, and even just playing that normally, once the map gets too big and I've revealed too much of the map, like, you know, the fog of war kind of thing, once I've revealed too much of it, anytime I move the map, it has to reload all the graphics tiles, and you just sit there going, oh my god, I'm so glad this is a turn-based game and not one that needs, like, instant response. Holy crap. Because this computer, like my PC, I mean, my Mac is super old. My Mac is from 2009, still running Snow Leopard, but I took it off the internet a long time ago. I used to take it to uni, but, you know, a long time ago. I've taken it off the internet, so security is not an issue, and I now just use it purely as a music computer. It's connected to my M-Box, my monitors, my keyboard, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the song that I'm writing now, I'm writing on that system. It works well. 10-year-old computer, still going strong. But my PC, I use it for like everything else. So video editing, Photoshop, the few games I have, because I don't know, I think Mac has changed now, but still most games are PC. Not that I play a lot of games. I've got a few on the on my desktop. There's one game I bought a while ago that I haven't even opened yet. It's just like it was on sale. I had money at the time. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a computer. This computer is from 2011 when I was living out west, actually. Anyway, so it's what, 8 years old. I got just below the best graphics card for this particular model because at the time my previous computer was really noisy. Probably because I accidentally dropped a tower of magnets on it. An influencer is someone with like 100,000 followers. Yeah, that's a thing is like, you know, how do you grow this channel? I mean, on the upside, having a, like, it would be separate from, if I did it, it would be separate from this channel, and it would be like its own gaming kind of niche focus, whereas my channel doesn't have a niche, unless, like, you count me as a niche, and just, like, all the stuff that comes out of my head. So a channel with a niche is easier to promote, but, like, to get that initial kind of boost and all that would be difficult, especially because, like, there's so much I'd need to learn about it. But yeah, no, my computer, 2011, okay graphics card. Back then it worked really well because I was using a webcam that had a really low resolution, whereas now I'm editing full HD videos and it's just like, And it can barely even handle MP4s, especially Windows Movie Maker. It always has to think, once you've done too many edits, it spends so much time thinking about how it's doing the next thing. And then even in a hit film, which is designed for MP4s, every time you make a cut, oh man, it takes forever to process that idea. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new computer. But then when I look at the requirements and so on, far out, there's this software I want to try that it looks a little bit better than HitFilm in some respects, but it needs minimum 16 gigabytes of RAM, preferably 32. And when I look at those computers that are 32 gigabytes of RAM, holy crap, that's expensive. Probably more expensive than any computer I've ever bought. I usually spend about $2,000 on a computer, maybe. And that, like, this one's lasted 8 years. It's not bad, but when I think about spending like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 on a computer and I'm barely employed, oh my god. Anyway, why was I talking about my computer? Because it's slow with gaming and so on. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, I'll probably try and come up with a 30-second 60-second video of some kind, which will be a challenge for me because I go on and on. So like, how do I condense things into a small video? The reason they want a small video is just to not waste my time, but because I think they've got a few people they're looking at. But still, for me, making a short video is difficult. So I've got to come up with some ideas and, like, you know, how do I present something in 60 seconds? I don't know. I did send them my Punk Rave Australia videos because they're my most polished ones, and they've had a look at that. So I feel like if I did a review style thing, you know, I'm just showing them stuff they've already seen. So yeah, but the history of their game studio is really interesting. So maybe I could do something with that, you know, like a sort of story time. Just yeah, it's a really gutsy move on their part. I mean, their whole story is pretty gutsy because, you know, starting a gaming company from scratch, big move, and then they've actually managed to get a game out there and it's gotten some attention. I don't know exactly how much, but, you know, seems okay. And yeah, now they've been hiring people, they've got some artists, and then have you tried writing a script, or do you prefer freeform? Well, so the most recent sort of script-based one I did was probably the Facebook advice one, you know, the 7 tips to help out bands. I probably did wing a couple of the areas, but overall that was fairly scripted. Other than that, the videos that I did for my asexuality EP when I was working on it for uni, those ones were pretty heavily scripted. So like it's doable. It's just like, you know, because I don't have a teleprompter or anything, that makes things difficult. I have to look at the thing, read it, and then memorize it, and then try and get it, and then read the next bit, and then memorize it, and then say it, and then, you know, edit out all my screw-ups, edit out all the looking at the thing. It's a very time-consuming way to do it, especially being like a one-person thing. But yeah, no, these guys seem like they'd be really supportive. I'm just like, how would I summarize my concerns? I think, for one thing, like, I'm not a huge gamer. I don't think that games are going to be like full-on hardcore games. The first one is more like strategy simulation kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing that I probably would play. But yeah, because it's not just about their studio, it's about gaming in general, whether that's reviewing games or reviewing gear for playing games, playthroughs, whatever. I don't know all the other games, and presumably to get some attention you'd want to tackle a few of the more popular games, or I don't know. So yeah, tricky. I mean, I can learn fairly quickly, but how interested am I to get really in depth? That's a question. So there's that, me not being like a real intense gaming kind of person. Also, let me just finish this soup. It's really distracting. Hang on. Dear, oh dear. Oh my god, there's still more in there. That's the problem. Soup's not like tea where you can just... Alright. can you draw good enough to create a comic book with your own stories? It would be nice if they provided a gaming PC. So I can, my drawing skill, like, it's all right if I concentrate on it. Often I don't really have the focus for it, but if I needed to, I could probably draw something. I don't know about a full comic book, because, you know, it's hard to draw the same thing twice, and then especially from a bunch of different angles. I think I would struggle with that a bit. Yeah, and then with my own stories, it's been a long time since I've come up with stories, so I'm not sure if I still have enough creativity for it, but we could see. Now with the gaming PC, okay, so they've got like a sort of little office thing, and they've got desktops in there that I could potentially use. I did mention to them that you know, I've got issues with my technology, and they're like, oh well, you know, we can sort that out. Like, you can come in and use our one sometimes and whatever. So I think that'd be all right. Would mean probably less working from home, so a bit more travel in that sense, but. They're pretty flexible on a lot of stuff. Because, like, it's an indie sort of thing. It's not like, you know, a rigid studio. They wanted to escape the whole rigid software kind of world, so that's why they've gone to gaming. Hey, if I make like a short video about the story of the studio and they decide they don't like it, I might post it here anyway. Free promo for them, I don't mind. And then, you know, you can see what I mean about their story being kind of cute and interesting. Okay, so let me focus. What were the things I was worried about? Oh yeah, okay, so me not being a huge gamer, the tech, which I can, like, I'm gonna have to spend money on a computer regardless of whether I get this thing. So, you know, I'm just gonna have to work out what I can afford, or maybe borrow some money from my parents, or I don't know. Because I am a little bit intimidated by the idea of actually buying a computer that high powered. The upside, though, is that I feel like baseline technology has slowed. Like, do you remember in the 90s and so on? And then, you know, the early zeros, every year, like, the computers would be twice as good as the one you bought last year, and you're like, God damn it, now I'm stuck with this piece of crap. Whereas now, like, I mean, the fact that I've been able to use this computer for 8 years and it can still edit HD video just a little bit slowly, but it can do it, that's pretty decent. So if I did, I mean, I always try to buy better than what I actually need. Had to buy PC every year to stay. Yeah, I know actually, one of my teachers back at AIM, he used to upgrade his, he's really into Macs, and he used to upgrade his Mac every year and just sell the old one, and so that he could pay for the new one. I think that's too much of a pain in the butt, but he was like an actual audio guy, you know, professionally, so he had to keep up with the technology, whereas I'm more of a casual kind of person, and I don't know that that's really going to change. So what I prefer to do is buy the best computer I can afford at the time, and in the hopes that it'll be future-proofed. That was kind of my attitude with this phone, right? So I got the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, which at the time was like the flagship of Samsung, and that was in 2016. It's now 2019. It's been 3 years. Still fine. I just didn't upgrade to Oreo because I heard like the main thing was you get extra emojis in exchange for your phone starting to get laggy, and I was like, I don't need extra emojis, thank you very much. So, you know, I'm a bit careful with how I update these things. That's why this computer is still on Windows 7, and Windows 7 actually makes it a bit more urgent for me to upgrade it, or get a new one, because once Windows 7 loses support, the security will be an issue. So, and I have tried updating it to Windows 10. It actually came up in Facebook memories that I was complaining it didn't work right, and, you know, it messed with my music files and all this kind of stuff. So I rolled it back to a disk image rather than doing their own version of the rollback. But yeah, so Windows 10 didn't really agree with this machine. So it's just like when you add up all the problems with it, I just need to invest in a new machine. But if I'm now doing more video editing, like with Punk Rave Australia, however long they want to keep me on, and then if I just want to get better at videos in general for you guys, I need something a little bit better. Computer improvements have become very cryptic. cryptic? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I know like we've sort of reached the limit in terms of how small components can get, so we've sort of had to move on to quantum computing, which isn't accessible to us average people. And yeah, also like with video formats, right? I think we've kind of reached a point where we're starting to get into an excessive dots per inch kind of thing. Like, you know, most human eyes, I think, can see if it's below 300 dots per inch, you can maybe see the pixelation a bit, but anything above that is not really a problem. And then when you consider like TV screens, unless you're me with bad eyesight and you have to get up really close to see things, with TVs, you're miles away, so it doesn't matter if it's like a really dense pixel ratio or whatever you call it. So I'm quite happy editing 1080p, and I do not see myself going up to 4K anytime soon. I feel like that would be absolute overkill, especially for someone like me just doing vlogs. Pinching bits and bytes. Okay. I don't know, I just feel like if I invested in a computer that could handle 4K editing, then my 1080p videos will be fine, and it'll be a long time before that computer really needs extra. Also, when I went to the shops, like, you know, you still see 8GB computers all over the place, in terms of RAM, I mean. So that's still, like, fine for most people. So I don't really see myself doing a whole lot, but I've really got to decide exactly what I need. Anyway, I feel like I've already talked about my computer stuff before. I get confused because I've talked to a lot of people and complained about my computer problem, and so I don't remember who I've said what to, or if I've said it on camera. But yeah, so, possibly gaming channel. One thing actually I was just thinking of, I think yesterday, is if I, like, okay, so in the beginning, if I'm on a new gaming channel and we're trying to build it to become like an influencer kind of situation, right? The most realistic thing to happen is it gets very little attention for a long time. You know, try to promote it as best you can, get a few followers, but mostly it kind of just potters along, and then I don't know, maybe they would decide, gee, maybe this isn't working out, or maybe just keep at it, because some of those successful ones, especially, you know, vlog style gaming channels, and not ones that have a huge studio behind them, you know, with writers and lighting people and all that, you know, like there are some channels out there that have full-on teams, but the ones that are more like vlog style run, they don't really get anywhere for like 5 years or so. So, you know, you kind of have to slog at it, and I feel like these guys kind of understand that. So like realistically, not much happens for a long time. But let's say I did take the thing, like, you know, first I have to impress them enough that they want me. Second, I have to, you know, accept an offer. Let's say I do, and the gaming channel, for whatever reason, takes off. Something I kind of have been worrying about is like, okay, so then suddenly I'm the personality of a gaming channel, but I'm still gonna have my own channel, and at what point are people gonna like come across to see what the rest of me is like, and then be like, what the hell did I just stumble into? And it's kind of this incongruous sort of thought that I would have two channels, one that's very specific gaming focused, and one that is just the chaos that is me. You know, how do I manage that sort of a thing? I mean, on the one hand, cross-promotion, on the other hand, maybe I don't want huge numbers of people coming to my weird little channel. You know, I'm kind of happy with the way it is going for the moment. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that, if I suddenly also had a gaming channel, and if it suddenly became successful. That's just something, I mean, it's highly unlikely to happen anytime soon, God knows. But yeah, I was just like, wow, that'd be super weird. Do I want that? Do I want to, you know, see if that would happen? So that's the thing. Yeah. I think I can see new people watching since I explained what I'm talking about. So, oh, hello. I personally have seen separate channels for the same person. If I dislike one channel, I just don't watch it and stick to the one that I enjoy. The dislike for ones does not change my impression of the other. Yeah. Well, I suppose there's that attitude. Oh, what else? Sounds like a very big decision. Yeah, I mean, like the major upside is being paid to do YouTube, basically. It would mean that I'd have to spend more time making that sort of gaming content as well. I think, I tried to ask them what sort of commitment, kind of thing, and they're like maybe 2 videos a week, which I'm kind of doing for my own channel at the moment. If you count, like, I do a video early in the week usually, and then I do a live stream later in the week usually, that would be awesome. Yeah, so like being paid to do it, not having to worry so much about having jobs. I'd probably still do the bonsai thing, but I don't know, depending on workload, I might have to pull back on that a little bit. I'm not sure. So there's a lot to think about because, the idea of being paid to do YouTube, which I already do, is pretty cool. It's just like, it'd be nice if it was a little bit closer to things that I'm really into. Although if it was too close to stuff I'm into, I think then that would have more of a clash with this channel. So maybe it is actually better that it's gaming, which I don't really do on this channel so much, so that we can have, like, it wouldn't be taking away from my personal channel, if you get what I mean. So like it's sort of like, on the one hand this, on the other hand that. How do I weigh these things up? They seemed like really nice guys, though. We had a good chat. I think we were at this cafe for like an hour. The cafe was really cool, too. I got in a bit early because, that's kind of my habit. And I was just sort of looking in there, and they were really nice. And they're like, oh, hey, do you want to try this sample sandwich? And then, I'm like, oh, no, I'm just waiting for some people. I'm like, oh, you can sit down, blah, blah, blah. Would you like a coffee or that? So they were really nice in that cafe, the cafe owners. And so I actually did go and get a hot chocolate. Reasonably priced hot chocolate as far as those kinds of places go, and it was pretty good. And they gave me a free marshmallow, which I guess is standard. I didn't even have to ask for it. They're like, oh, do you want a marshmallow as well? And I'm like, yes. So yeah, that place was really good. Wow, yeah, and they seem to know a lot of the locals as well. So yeah, that was a good little outing. And then I walked from that place all the way to like another, like this place was close to a train station. I walked all the way pretty much to the next train station afterwards. That was mainly though because I didn't want to have to pee in a train station or pee in a pub, so I thought I'd go all the way over to this big shopping mall where I know they have nice toilets. So got myself some exercise just to pee in a nice place. Anyway, yeah. Is that weird of me to go, to actually do some exercise just for a nice restroom? I don't know. Oh man. Anyway, what tangent? No, the guys seem really nice. And props to them for taking such a huge risk. Like they basically left jobs that sounded pretty stable to go and like take a gamble on becoming game developers. And actually in the lead up I did some research because I can't help myself. I was trying to like understand what their ideas might be and all that. So yeah, I looked up like what kind of gaming channels already exist. So there's the let's play sort of thing, the streaming thing, there's people who give tips about how to do certain games, game development in terms of the process, updates, tutorials, and there's this channel called Thin Matrix, which is actually quite interesting. I kind of want to play the game, but I probably shouldn't. So is it game developing, and what type of game development or game playing? Okay, so the guys who want to hire a YouTuber, they are game developers, indie game developers in Sydney. But they want the channel to be a general gaming channel that happens to mention them now and then when they have a new game and maybe takes a look at some of their stuff in a bit more depth. But overall would just be a general gaming channel. So pretty broad, and that's like, could cover all kinds of things, could cover behind the scenes, could cover just playing games. One of the ideas is like they go to gaming conventions, right? And I could go along with a camera and interview people at the convention. That's pretty interesting. I should look into doing similar. Yeah, well, actually, this is it, like I've actually found this on a proper job website, and very unusual. I've got an alert set up to just capture anything to do with like arts, media, blah blah, the kinds of things that I've been doing. And yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen someone specifically calling for a YouTuber in this way. What the next closest would be the sort of social media unpaid intern kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's very rare for something like this to pop up. I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should just go for it. Hey, but yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing for you guys might be like, will it distract me from my regular channel? There's that, because obviously if that becomes my job, then my priority has to be there, right? Definitely a good catch. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there's a lot to like about it. I just want to make sure that, I mean, I'm gonna do like the 30-second, 60-second clip they want, anyway, regardless. I'm just sort of thinking like, in the event that they offer me something, you definitely think it's worth going for? Okay, so you guys aren't worried about, you know, this channel here, because I would still try and do stuff, but, you know, with priorities, it would have to be towards the job one, right? So, and you know, there will be weeks where things are a little bit busy. Also, like lately, I have been writing music and poetry and so on, so I'm a bit like, ooh, how much time am I going to end up spending on video? How much is that going to take away from the other things that I'm doing? Or do I just have to get better at time management? You know, stop watching so many. What have I been watching on YouTube lately? Huh? Just make sure to stick to your passions and don't burn yourself out. But late or less videos is fine. So what you enjoy. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Burnout is definitely something I gotta pay attention to. But I mean, I suppose I'd still be making videos. So if you guys are interested in gaming type stuff, you could still watch me somewhere. It just wouldn't be on this channel for that type of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, I mean, I'm sort of just thinking I'll go with the flow, because there's every chance that they'll decide they found someone better, and that's fair enough. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing to sort of come across. Oh, another thing that could go on their channel would be like, well, I think their first game has some educational elements, and you know, you could do videos about the educational content, so that you get people who are interested in the game, who want to know about the background behind it, and that goes to that video. Or you get people who are interested in the history, and then they find the game from that. Could be kind of an interesting thing to do. I don't know, I worry I'm thinking too much about the marketing side of things, but hey. Interesting thing is they don't have a Facebook, they don't have an Instagram, which I can understand, but they don't have a Facebook page, and I'm just like, oh, okay. But it sounds like, you know, they've got too much on their plate with the software programming, so, yeah, I don't know. I might end up in charge of another Facebook page, which I can do. That Facebook's easy. I'm always on Facebook anyway. Probably too much. Yeah. And what else? This is about growing the channel. How they would do that. Yeah. All right. Oh, like collaborations with other indie developers. Everybody in my uni game does, of course, hates the game history, but game creation is fun. I think what. Hang on. It wasn't really game history. It was like the background information that inspired the game. I mean, because, you know, there are all kinds of games out there, and some do have like a historical component or whatever. So there's that. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, might be interesting to some people, especially if you're into the types of games that are history focused. I'm not 100% sure what their next game was going to be. I feel like the next game isn't going to have so much of an educational kind of vibe, but they didn't go into detail about it. I think they were trying to go a bit more mainstream with it. The first game was just like a test to show that they could do it, and then now they're sort of thinking like, you know, how do we actually go around making more games that are, you know, more what they're into, or I don't know. They gave me some YouTube channels to look at, which I had to watch, you know, just of examples of the kinds of things they're thinking about. I think that was a little bit intimidating, because these are channels that, like, well, I think the biggest one maybe had 3 million subscribers or something, and like full-on production values, and I'm just like, those guys probably have a full-on team working with them, and, you know, I don't know that that would really be possible early on, but like the general gist of it, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot that I'm intimidated about, but I probably shouldn't let that get in the way, because, you know, I do need to do something with my life. And I mean, it could end up, you know, helping me learn things that would make this channel better in some way, you know, if I came up with some kind of way of working that made things better. Yeah, So, interesting opportunity. Oh yeah, this Thin Matrix. I don't know if you guys follow any game developer type people, but while I was researching before the interview, I came across this channel called Thin Matrix. Been on YouTube about 5 years, 100,000 subscribers, blah, 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 blah. Most viewed video, a day in the life of an indie game developer. It was a good video because like, he's talking about what he does during his day and like what bugs he was fixing that day. But then every now and then, like, he'd be cooking something and you're just like, that is some damn nice food. And then go for a run and so on. So, like actually a day in his life, you see all those kinds of things. And he sounds like a chill guy. In the game, I kind of want to play it. The game is called Aquilinox. It's kind of like a relaxing environment building game. So like, you place grass and we get a monthly payment with health insurance and all. Okay, so in Australia, we don't do health insurance attached to jobs, really. I don't know if it's like monthly or it depends on who's the employer, like how often you get paid. There are places I've been. I wanted to be a game tester when I was younger. Oh yeah? I don't know, like it would be kind of fun to be able to make some money playing games, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know so much about the like how frequency of payments. Some places in Australia will be monthly, some places are every fortnight. With bonsai, it's a little bit more erratic, but like, a few days after I've done a shift, sometimes a few days before I've done a shift, it's because that's more of like a family kind of business. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about that. With the health insurance thing, so like these guys are gonna pay like a reasonable amount with health insurance, right? So in Australia, we've got universal healthcare, so you don't really need health insurance. The downside of not having health insurance is if you were not in an emergency situation, often there are quite long waiting lists to get into hospitals and get treatment and so on for different things. The worst is for dental. We don't really have proper coverage for dental, which I think is a mistake because dental diseases can lead to other diseases that become even more expensive to treat later on once they do hit the hospital. So, prevention is better, prevention is cheaper, but hey, I'm not a politician, no one wants to know from me. But yeah, so you will be covered though for your basic health. With private health insurance, so I do pay private health insurance, which is like my biggest expense. But with that, so you can get into hospitals more easily. You still sometimes have to pay a gap payment if you're going in as a private patient, especially at an actual private hospital. In the public system, sometimes what they do is they'll ask to admit you as a private patient, and then if you say like, what's the gap, sometimes they'll just waive the gap because they're so desperate for extra funding that they will just take whatever they can get from the private health insurer and not worry about charging you extra gaps and so on. So I've heard of that happening in the public sector. I mean, I haven't had any reason to go to hospital for a very long time. I think in our family, what Mikey goes every now and then because his condition, I don't know that there are private specialists really for some of the things that he needs done. And then Dave, when he was playing sport, used to need to go in for things every now and then because, sport, especially like physical contact sport, oh my gosh. Yeah, but I don't, for me, the hospital side of things is just as backup just in case because I'm kind of paranoid. One thing that's good about private health insurance in Australia, I mean, because the public system isn't perfect, right? And because those waiting lists exist, when Dave had a knee injury, he was able to get in very quickly to have the surgery he needed and get straight into rehab. Whereas if he had been on the public system, would have been like 2 years to wait just to get the surgery, and then you've got to have the rehab. So it's unfortunate that, if you have money, you get better outcomes. For some people who are on lower incomes, if you can't get that surgery that you need, it can affect your health in such a way that you can't work, and then it makes the whole poverty thing worse. So I don't like that about the system, but seeing as I have no control over how the system works, I feel a little bit better if I have that private health insurance just in case. That's maybe me being a little bit paranoid, especially considering my financial position right now, but I'm lucky that if I do get into trouble, I can ask my parents for help. I try not to as much as possible, so I'm still staying afloat financially, but yeah, anyway, apart from that, the particular health insurance I'm paying for also helps me pay for optical and dental. And I know if I just saved that money, I could, buy the glasses and dental stuff anyway, just from my set of cash, but it's easier to just pay it all into the one system and then not have to think about it, because, otherwise I'd be tempted to spend all my health insurance money on a new computer. In other words, is it a real employment with contract and all? Yes, it's real. I don't know what kind of contract they plan to have, but I think it's like a 6-month contract, and then if things go well, possibly extend it into the future. So I guess that depends on how well the gaming channel would do. That's how it is in the States. You think they would want to keep their workers healthy? Yeah, I mean, Australia does better than America, I think, in terms of health. I mean, especially if you need medications, right? Once it's on the PBS, the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme, even if it's a drug that costs like $100,000 or whatever, you as the consumer pay something like maybe $7 or something for medication. Whereas in America, if it's a drug that costs 100,000, you have to cough up the 100,000. I think that's my understanding of what America's system's like. And then because America just doesn't care, they don't really negotiate the prices down, whereas Australia will be like, no, you're going to give us that drug for cheaper. So simplification of the system, but hey, that's the thing. I every now and then I shop around to see if there's a cheaper insurance I could get, but for now the one that I've got for the needs that I have is the cheapest one. I'm on a very low level of cover, so it's just like basic hospital. The cheapest plan I could get that covered optical and dental. And now that I've actually found the insurer's dental place, like, it's so much cheaper than the old private one used to be. Even with private health insurance, a private dental operator is so expensive. You'd still be paying $200 out of pocket afterwards. Whereas this other place is basically free. Even with insurance, I can't afford mental health care. Oh yeah, I don't want to know that in America, gosh. Australia has healthcare for broke people, which means meds that are hundreds for... Yeah, I think that, yeah, if you're really stuck for money, it is easy to get medication in Australia compared to America. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I think maybe if you do have money, it costs a little bit more, but it's not a huge amount. I think, is that what you're trying to say, Person Poetry? Reduced $40 on PBS down to $6.40. Yeah, but I never... It's been a long time since I've needed anything on the PBS. Anyway, so mental health care, I think I've probably talked about Australia's system in another video a few years back. I don't even want to comment on health insurance in the States. Oh my god, yeah. With mental health in Australia... it's been a while since I've really been in the system, so that's probably giving actual cost examples. Yeah, okay, cool. I think, was it the Ahmed's Worth It video, or maybe it was the depression and dysthymia video I think I did, maybe, it might have actually been 2016. I don't know. I made a video about the mental health system in Australia, but basically, for things like depression, you go to the doctor, the GP gives you a referral, and then they keep changing it, but you get like 5 or 6 free sessions with a psychologist. Sometimes the psychologist will have a gap, but once you've spent a certain amount on specialists, that's when the Medicare safety net comes in. So the government's like, holy shit, you've spent a lot on medical stuff, we're going to help you even more. So back when I was really depressed, oh no, actually, I don't remember when it was, but there was a period where I was seeing this one psychologist a lot, and maybe combined with some other health-related stuff, I actually got past the Medicare threshold. So I would see her and, hey, Dark Waters, I would go and pay, say, maybe her fee was like $160 per session or something, and the government would give me back, say, I'd just make up $130, right? Normal. But then once I hit the Medicare safety net, suddenly the government was paying more, so that I'd only have to pay $5 out of pocket. I don't know if that's changed, but yeah, you essentially get free-ish sessions with a psychologist. And then once you reach your limit, you go back to your GP and then you do a review and then they give you a fresh batch of sessions. I'm not sure if that's the same now because they keep changing it, but that's how it used to be back when I was seeing a psychologist. When I was seeing the psychiatrist, I think that's a different system because psychologists are psychologists, whereas psychiatrists are actually medicine people, so they fall into the medical specialist kind of area. And so God, the first consultations with a psychiatrist are so expensive. Even after Medicare pays whatever, you still have to pay all this extra. And just got up 6:20. Can't stay though. Got to get some breakfast and take a shower before I have to go out. But you have a good one. Oh, okay. Enjoy your day. 6:20. That's too early. See ya. Yeah, psychiatrist, so I spent money, Medicare covered a certain amount, but then I had to cover a certain amount as well. Usually, like, you would pay up front and then Medicare would refund you. Sometimes the refund comes in before your payment is actually processed. I had both psychologists and psychiatrists for free, though maybe that's because I was under 18. It's possible. Also, I think you're in a different state to me. I'm not sure if New South Wales system is different to Queensland, because I know, like, the federal government has a lot to do with Medicare type stuff, but also the state governments run a lot of hospitals and other health related things. I'm not sure how much that interacts. Yeah. Also, because of the area I live in, I've probably got the sort of wealthy area tax, you know, where some of those specialists will charge more in certain areas than others. So that might be a factor. Now, like, because I do live in one of those nicer areas of Sydney. That's not to say that everyone here is rich, though. You've got the guys down at the beach with their bloody mansions and whatever, and then there's the rest of us in the middle. And then, you know, they've got some smaller areas that are like more affordable housing. So it's a bit of a mixed bag there. But yeah, no, the psychiatrists I usually did have to pay a gap, but I think the first consultation's heaps expensive, but then the next ones were not so bad, and it wasn't as painful, but it was still a little bit painful. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not doing that at the moment. That's why, you know, the previous 2 live streams, which are, you know, now archived, you can watch them if you want, going over the autism thing, right, or Asperger's or whatever. If I was to get myself assessed for that, my biggest concern is cost, because I get the impression that I would probably have to pay something, even if Medicare covers some of it. And, you know, is it really worth it considering it probably wouldn't impact my life? Yeah, I don't know. All that kind of medical stuff is difficult. How did we get onto the topic of medical stuff? Oh, that's right. Apparently adult diagnosis is expensive. Yeah. And then I think because I present just fine and for Asperger's, yeah, I think, like, I mean, especially with female autism, Asperger's, whatever, they talk about masking. So, like, how do they know if you're masking or not? And, you know, I'm fine socially, I think. I'm not a huge fan of socializing, but I can do it if I have to. And, I mean, like, even with depression, the first time I saw my last psychiatrist, he was a bit uncertain about whether or not I was actually depressed because of how well I presented. It's just like, especially the first time you meet someone, you sort of have more of your defenses up, but then the next time I came in and I was just like feeling like crap and my body language was showing it really badly, and he's like, yep, you're depressed. Sometimes it's harder to hide that kind of stuff, hey. But like with Asperger's, right, especially if I did turn out to be on the spectrum, be so damn mild, like how would they be able to see past anything? I don't know. Because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, psychology is such a difficult area because a lot of it is based on self-reporting. Yeah, I was asking my brother, hey, how would you pronounce Asperger's? And yeah, we did get onto that whole, like, if you pronounced it Asperger's, and then, like, the giggling that ensued. Oh my god, we're so immature. I think there's a few different ways people pronounce it. I think just from our background, we've always heard Asperger's, which I know in an American accent probably sounds more like ass-burgers or something. In an Australian accent, we say ass, not ass. Anyway, whatever. I thought my symptoms were super mild, and they surprisingly figured it out pretty quickly. Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe they could surprise me. I just feel like it's not going to be worth the cost. Could be the same for me. Yeah, I mean, now my doctor's thinking about it, so we'll see. What is it? Already July, so I suppose I should see her sometime this month. Um, don't know if I should talk about the other crazy shit that goes on in my head, but hey, huh? What a terrible word for a serious condition. I think it's just a dude's name, and he's from I don't know what country, but not in English, and maybe they pronounce it differently there. Just yeah, I don't know. Because of my youngest brother being disabled, we sort of grown up around a lot of disabled people, and whether someone pronounced it that way in our childhood or whatever, we just call it Asperger's. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Mikey actually did I mention? I think last stream was when I was going over the rest of that list. That list of female. It's based on Austrian physician Hans Asperger. Yeah, that's the one. So I don't know how you pronounce that properly in the right language. So I will just continue to butcher it. Anyway, what, Mikey? Okay, so last live stream, which was earlier this week, just because I couldn't get it out of my head, I'm like, I need to finish talking about the thing. So we finished off the female questionnaire for Asperger's. I've probably still got it somewhere. I don't know. It was that questionable one that had all those kind of some things that did sound like Asperger's, some things that sounded like just shy people, or basically it could be interpreted to be anyone. We finished that off. And then I had to finish that stream because Mikey came home. Mikey went to the hospital to get his teeth cleaned, and they had to sedate him because, he's not going to let someone go in his mouth with, like, tools and stuff without some decent sedation. Asperger is a German name and should be pronounced with the hard G. There is no soft G in the German language. Is hard G like G and soft G like J? I'm not sure. I suppose I could look up how to, according to Google. Okay. I suppose I could type it into Google Translate, but I won't do that right now. Anyway, so Mike went to the hospital to gut. Gut is soft. Oh, okay. What's hard then? What's a hard G sound like? Anyway, I guess that's something to look up later. So Mikey had his teeth done at the hospital with a bit of sedation. He's fine now. Jaw, sort of. Okay, I would have put it the other way around, but it shows what I know about linguistics, hey. Yeah, he's actually got to go back sometime to finish off something dental related. I think it was really good that Dave went because, he's better at managing him than some of those guys. The hospital guys are always good, apparently, when Mikey goes in, but there's some things that as family are just easier to do. Anyway, how did I even get onto that topic? I don't know. Gosh. So let's see. Well, so I guess I will look at some more this gaming channel thing. So for those of you who've turned up a bit late, because I can see there's extra people watching, I went to a job interview earlier in the week. Basically, the job is to pay someone, for example, me, to become a full-time YouTuber for them. They're an indie game developer, but the channel is not just going to be about them. It's going to be a general gaming channel, and they want to build it up so that every now and then when they get mentioned, there'll actually be an audience waiting to see new games, and maybe they can get some publicity that way. It's a really interesting kind of arrangement. Earlier in the stream, I talked about some of my concerns, probably a little bit all over the place because I didn't really plan out any of this stuff, but so there's a lot to think about, but I've got to now make a 30 to 60 second clip of an example of a kind of video I could make for them. They have seen my Punk Rave Australia reviews, so they've already seen how I review stuff, so I might show them something different. Yeah, they seem pretty supportive. They don't seem to have unrealistic expectations. I think they realize it's a difficult thing to build. So yeah, I would still be doing this channel. It'd just be like gaming stuff would be off on another channel, which works seeing as I'm not doing gaming here. Yeah, interesting if I can get it, especially because like it would be nice to be paid to do YouTube. But yeah, there's a lot that I would have to learn, a lot I would have to get used to. I think I did before I started talking about going to gaming conventions and interviewing people. That could be really interesting because I haven't been to those kinds of conventions, and it'd be kind of interesting to get people's ideas about like how they started their gaming studios, especially if it's like an indie game developer kind of event. You could talk to them about like, hey, so how did you get into this? Because these guys, their studio, the way they started, huge risk, just like, we've had enough of the 9 to 5 grind. Let's do something that we actually are passionate about. And, you got to respect that kind of willingness to take a jump into that unknown kind of space. So good on them for that. So yeah, I think maybe my 30 to 60 second clip might focus on that initial story, but I've got to try and make it short and sweet. And you guys know me. I mean, I can stream for 3 hours straight. I'm not exactly a short content kind of thing, but it's not a hard rule. If it goes over that, they're fine with that. It's just their idea is they don't want to waste my time, which, like, when you've got guys telling you that, that's a good sign, right? They realize that you've got other things going on, and if you maybe won't be getting the job, you wouldn't want to waste time spending, making a full-on produced 20-minute video kind of thing. Yeah, but so that would be really interesting. Oh, I think I was talking about the Thin Matrix channel. Did I not get onto that? The Thin Matrix Equinox, interesting game. I kind of want to play it. Maybe the one thing that's stopping me, apart from the fact that I only have a certain amount of money to spend in the first place, so hang on, I'm probably jumping around from topic to topic. So when I was researching for the game developers, I came across a channel called Thin Matrix, and he's a game developer. Seems to be working on his own. I don't know what his situation is, but he developed this game called Equinox. Equinox, sort of like nature simulation, right? You plant trees, it creates a sort of biome, and then you can have certain kinds of animals and so on there. The one thing on the Steam reviews about that game that kind of puts me off, apart from me not having a whole lot of money, is so the when you plant the grass, it doesn't spread. Like, it spreads a little bit, but it'll never leave a certain radius from the original spot. And same with the animals. You put the animals in a spot, but they never leave beyond a certain radius, and so you might have this huge world, and unless you actually put things there, nothing moves, and so there's no conflict between different species in that sense, unless you actually intentionally put them together. And I kind of feel like, well, I would like something that spreads out a little bit more. I used to play Sim Earth. Did anyone play Sim Earth back in the day? I wish I still had those CD-ROMs, but they've probably been long thrown out. We had Sim Earth, Sim Life, Sim City, Sim Farm. It came in some big package. I saw a video of a guy with Asperger's a long time ago. There are a whole bunch of symptoms. I never saw any of them in your videos. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's in my everyday life that people have seen things and been like, gee, you might have this. Especially when a few years back there was that big thing on the news where they're like, oh, all these women with Asperger's or autism or whatever, they're being missed because our criteria are based on males and blah, blah, blah. Around that time, a lot of people were like, maybe that's what you have. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, did any of you play, I mean, some of you might have played Sim City back in the day, but Sim Farm, Sim Earth, Sim Life, I think I got it from school. There used to be like this, every year they'd have like this book selling kind of thing, and every now and then there'd be software in there as well, and I'd always be like, I want to buy that one, and harass my parents, go in like some reading competition to try and get points and whatever. So one time it was just like a package of all these different sim things. Is Sim Earth the one where your planet can grow life and that life can engage in nuclear war? No. Sim Earth, let me think. Sim Earth was the terraforming one. So you'd start with different planets or whatever, and then you'd have to try and make them habitable. So you could lay down some grass or whatever, but if the atmosphere was wrong, the grass would just die. There was like a Mars mode, so you'd have to drop these little terraforming things to get more water into the air and whatever, until the planet eventually became habitable, and you could like drop a bacteria in there and it would gradually evolve into different species. feeding my god complex. They had more Earth-like ones though, and you could drop a whale in the ocean or whatever, and it'd go off and do its thing. Hopefully multiply rather than die out. Yeah, and then Sim Life was more of a genetic modification one, and you could even design like tiny pixelated animals. As somebody who does have Asperger's, I feel like we do share some common traits, but it's difficult to really know. Yeah, it is. It's hard to know where's the line as well, because if you think of Asperger's as a spectrum, or autism as a spectrum, sorry, I think it's sort of categorized in the same thing these days. At some point, the spectrum, like at what point along the spectrum do you consider it diagnosable as opposed to like barely even counting? That's, I think, one of the difficult things with anything that's a spectrum. At what point, like at some point you have to make a judgment about whether or not something fits a categorization or not. And where is the line? Sometimes like with severe autism, it's quite obvious. I grew up around those kinds of kids. SimCity on SNES or SimCity 3000 on PC. Oh, was it on... Is SNES, is that Super Nintendo? We had Super Nintendo, but I think we got it just as Nintendo 64 was coming out. It's a bit of a shame. But, probably my parents did it because it would have been cheap. Yeah, I don't know if it was SimCity 3000. I don't really remember. But it's always fun to build up a city and then set loose like a tornado or an alien invasion upon it and just kill everything. There's me with my destructive god complex again. Sim Farm, did anyone play Sim Farm? That was like basically the SimCity idea, but with a farm. It's different to, what's that? Is it like Farmville they have on Facebook these days? It's different to that kind of thing. But I guess a similar idea, just like without having to pay money to anyone, back when games didn't have all the DLC, blah, blah, extra microtransactions and so on. So you could build up, you had crops. I quite liked growing strawberries because if you planted them at the right time, they were really profitable. So I used to do that, and I'd just leave my field empty until the right time came along again. And then you could also have livestock, and my favorite one was to have horses. The thing is, if you didn't build fences and they just would roam, sometimes your livestock would get into your crops and start eating it all. So, you have to have fences for that. Also, if they had an unfortunate encounter with a tractor or something, they might get hit by the tractor, and then you'd have this sort of squashed horse graphic, wandering around your screen, if it survived, and then its value would go down. So, fences are important. I used to set up all these little fences and then have a road connecting them all. So if I wanted to move them from one place to the other, it was easier to just compartmentalize them. Yeah, I probably got a little bit too into that. They also had a plane. You could use a plane to spray all your crops, but I could never figure out how to fly it. And I guess we didn't have great internet back then, and, internet communities weren't such a thing. So I don't even know if I had much internet back then. Anyway, so it never occurred to me to try and look it up. I don't know if it came with a proper manual or if I just didn't, I don't know. For some reason, I couldn't fly that damn plane and it'd always die. Crop duster. Hey! Yeah, I ended up just using tractors for the fields. I never had too many fields anyway. You always want to try and have your farm near some water though, so you could pump the water out for irrigation. Oh my god, I think out of all the sim games, maybe that's the one I played the most, because Sim Earth and Sim Life were fun from like a god complex perspective, but yeah, there's a limit. I used to always try and make dragons in Sim Life, but I think because I tried to give them traits that I thought a dragon should have, turns out they weren't really very good for survival. So yeah, they'd either evolve into something else or they'd just die out. So difficult. What was that? I was more into flight sims. Do you watch Air Crash Investigation? I love that show. I went on a binge a few years back. There used to be a bunch on YouTube, I guess, before copyright crackdowns happened. And now I think they're on TV. I don't know what channel they're on. My phone is acting weird. Oh, okay. I think in America, Air Crash Investigation might be called Mayday. It's weird how sometimes American programs have different names. Like what Batman of the Future. Batman of the Future in America, I think, is called Batman Beyond. Super confusing when you try and look something up. I used to love Batman of the Future though, but mainly my favorite thing about Batman of the Future was there was a spin-off called the Zeta Project. We watched some in aircraft maintenance school. Yeah, I after binging on Air Crash Investigation for ages, I started feeling like, you know, if I was on a plane and something happened to the pilots, I might actually stand a chance at doing something. Probably not really, but you know, all the different flight controls and things that they're looking at, and you know, flapperons and whatever. I was just like, oh yeah. So you know, airplane's kind of cool. When I get on a plane, I hope for a seat that has a view of the wing outside the window. I think actually on my channel somewhere I've got film from when I went to Japan and was just filming the wings, and when the flaps go up when it's landing, that's the most exciting part because they go boom right up to try and slow down the plane. Yeah, bit of a nerd kind of thing. But yeah, no, the Zeta Project, I haven't thought about that in a long time. I wonder if I can get that somewhere. If they have it on DVD for Australia, because I know it won't be on Netflix or anything. It was never anywhere near as popular. I think there were 2 seasons of the Zeta Project. In the Batman of the Future, when he first appeared, he actually looked quite different. Yeah. He's a robot. Those are spoilers or air brakes. Yeah, they're good fun. Shit, now I really want to look up the Zeta Project, because it's that same sort of, right, okay, so the Zeta, he's a robot, right, created by the government or something, because it's Batman of the Future, and he's designed to infiltrate different things. So I think he has like a hologram that makes him look like different people, and I think basically an assassination robot designed by the government, but he happens to escape, and then I don't know what happens, but he decides he's not going to kill anymore. I really like that kind of redemption sort of story, and then he's sort of every now and then has a struggle with his programming, or someone tries to hack him and so on, and so it comes back to that same sort of, not exactly split personality, but in a struggle kind of media that I'm into. Oh my god, the Zeta Project. I need to find that. Isn't it funny, like every now and then you just remember something and you're like, shit, whatever happened to that? I really want to know. Damn, I'm going to have to track that down at some point. How did I get onto the Zeta Project? What were we just talking about? Air Crash Investigation. What were we talking about before that? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Oh yeah, the sim games. Oh my god. I wish I could find those sim games, because that'd be kind of fun. That'd be one that I would be fun to stream, I think. You know, those old retro games that needed to be on a CD-ROM with a product code. Same as like, where is it, my Age of Mythology somewhere, and it runs really nicely on my aging computer, not like Civilization. I've also got a Civilization for Mac. I think that actually belongs to my ex, but you know, he didn't want it anymore. Yeah, no. Oh man. I've got, what other games have I got on this computer? I've got Stardew Valley, which is good when I'm depressed, like, and you know, really struggling. I'll chuck on Stardew Valley with heavy metal in the background. So MechWarrior on PC. I feel like maybe I played a sample version of MechWarrior, but I'm not sure. Some games are easier with a what do you call it? Joystick? Do I still have it? Or did I throw it out because it was shit? Yeah, I had a joystick. I don't know, I don't remember where I got it, but it was missing 1 degree of rotation. I think it was maybe like if you go this way, you couldn't do it. So it was kind of useless. I used to play Free Space 2. I love Free Space 2. That's a good game. I haven't played that in a long time. Oh my god. So usually I play that with a keyboard, but I thought I'd try it with a joystick one time, but I think I got the wrong joystick and it was a pain in the butt. So let's stick to the keyboard playing that one. And that's fun. The ending of Free Space 2 is really good if you can get yourself a copy of that, because yeah, lots of fun. So Free Space 2 is a space flying game, like you fly spaceships. Wow, my brain is really struggling to connect to its language centers at the moment. I keep forgetting what words are. I feel like I slept better last night though. I went to bed a little bit late, but not because of shenanigans. I didn't watch anything last night. Didn't have Y-axis control. I'm not sure about the name. See, that's the thing, is I would have to learn, if I was going to do this gaming channel thing, I would have to actually learn some gaming terminology because, yeah, I'm way behind on some of that. I used to play a lot of games when I was really young, but it was mostly Pokemon and, like, Game Boy. What else did I have on Game Boy? You know, we had Pocket Bomberman or something, and, a couple of other RPGs. That's what I used to do, is mainly Pokemon. So, you know, the RPG thing, but I wouldn't really branch out of that a whole lot. We had a few games on, well, we had the Super Nintendo. It's probably the first gaming thing we had, maybe. My first Game Boy actually is from Japan. My aunt brought it over when I was really little, and yeah, so that's how I got my first Game Boy. I used to play a lot of that, but, yeah, and then what, we had PlayStation and PlayStation 2, and now we've got PlayStation 3, and that's how I set up the Netflix for everyone in the other room. We've got two TVs. One of them's a bit older, and it had some issue as well, so now I don't think it connects to the internet by itself. You have to go through the PlayStation, so that's how I set up the Netflix for them. Oh my god. They got Netflix while I was in Japan for a month, and like for a month without me helping them out on the tech stuff, oh my god. I came back from Japan and they were out in the kitchen room where we've got the other TV. It was the small one, used to be a small one. We had to get a new TV because that broke. Bit of a shame, but anyway. They were all just out in that room and had the blinds down, and I'm trying to make some tea, which is like you have to boil a noisy kettle, and they're trying to watch a show, and it was just driving me crazy. So I set it up in the other room for them just to get rid of them. You could find games for cheap on eBay. The Super Nintendo was fun. Yeah, I shouldn't really be spending money on games. I mean, if I got this Stranger Things Season 3 just came out today. I don't watch Stranger Things. I don't watch a lot of TV. So I suppose it would be better for me to do a gaming channel rather than a TV show channel, because TV shows, like, I try, but I keep going back to the same things that I like all the time. So I watched Fight Club the other day. I've now watched the bloody Doctor Who twice. This is the 7th season. Disc 5, so when you open it up, right, it has all those, I hate when they overlap the discs, but it's a compact way. So this one has Nightmare on Silver on it, and originally it was actually positioned here, but it's kind of hard to, like, have to keep moving the top CD just to get to this one, so I put it on top anyway. That's how deep my obsession with some of the split personality whatevers go. It's a good little episode, though. I wish it was longer, because there's more they could have done with it, but Nightmare on Silver, yeah. How good is it? Especially, like, you know, it's fun trying to look at his acting as well, because it's hard enough to get into one character, but if you're having to switch between two all the time, I always love seeing that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, what was I just rambling about? Games and stuff. Yeah, I kind of want to dig out some of the older games, but, yeah, I don't know, maybe I could just play heaps of old games. Although the streaming side of things, you'd probably want a following on a gaming channel before you started streaming too much, because otherwise you're just streaming to the void. So yeah, I don't know, trying to build a gaming channel, that would be an interesting challenge, and if I was getting paid for it though, you know, maybe worth doing. So I'll see, I guess I will see how far I can get with that. You know, try not to be scared. There's a lot I could learn as well. And the guys seem pretty supportive, because, you know, you'd basically be joining the studio team, just on the YouTube more marketing side of things. But they didn't really push it heavily as a marketing thing. It's more to just, like, set up a gaming channel. So, could be interesting. So if I get the position, I'll let you guys know so you can come across and see what kinds of gaming stuff I end up doing. Just, yeah, I would have to get better at it. Also, like, So, you know, I'd be on the noob side of things, so maybe it'd be kind of fun to be like, you know, a noob plays such and such game and you can watch me fail. But with pro gamers, right? You know how like video gaming, especially in like South Korea, is kind of seen as a sport. With some of the more fast-paced games, you kind of have to actually go and do physical exercise because to have fast enough reactions, even in your fingers, you have to be fit and have enough oxygen going in your brain and all that. So I'm a bit like, I wonder if that would make me get fitter again. I don't know. I really do need to get fit. I want to, you know, this song that I'm working on that I mentioned at the start of the video, I want to try and get that finished in the next 2 weeks and then sign up for an open mic event. And then around about my birthday, I want to be able to perform. And I'm sort of like, oh my God, it was hard enough before, you know, I did spend quite a bit of time trying to get fit enough just to perform 4 songs. I'm now thinking maybe I should just do 3 songs if I perform. Esports are getting popular in the States. Yeah, I think it's sort of spreading because it's kind of an interesting thing and it does take some skill to play a lot of those games really well. There's, you yeah, encourage the fitness alongside the gaming. Why not? I really could stand to get fitter though. Oh my God. Just looking, oh, so just looking back at the games that I've got Stardew Valley. I was just saying before, as long as it's a real employment with a contract and regular payment. Yeah, I think it is. Um, uh, so yeah, which is really interesting. I think it's a huge risk on their part. But they seem to really believe in what they're doing because they really wanted to break out of that sort of 9 to 5 life. So yeah, you know, you got to take risks to follow your dreams sometimes, and these guys have really taken that on. So it's an interesting opportunity, and I think if I didn't go for it, you know, it wouldn't come around again. So it's kind of like a either try it or, you know, forever hold your peace kind of thing. But yeah, Stardew Valley. Okay, so anytime I'm super depressed, can't pull myself out of it, I'll play Stardew Valley, take the music off, put my own heavy metal on, and then I'll be like tending my chickens and whatever with heavy metal, you know, like kind of music. And then every now and then something would come on in the background that I can't help but sing to. So there's a few songs that are really hard not to sing along to. Heavyweight by Infected Mushroom, especially like the guitar solo bit, because I sing all the parts, not just the vocals. I can't help myself. I'm too much of a random musician like that. So then you're like, wee, wee, wee. And you know, it has that emotional heightening in the song, so that helps. There's also, what is it? A Rose for Epona by Illuvatai. I can never remember how to pronounce it. A Rose for Epona, it has this do, 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 do. It's got this interesting little arpeggio kind of thing, and then the way she sings, very chest voice heavy, and I think I can finally sing it almost all in chest voice. They can take they can take all the risks they want. Yeah, well, I mean, they're happy to take the risks, and I think, you know, they seem like nice guys, so if they want to take a bet on me, maybe I should go for it. I've still got to prove myself though, so that's important to remember. Yeah, while I stand before you. Yeah, that song's hard not to sing along to. There's a few songs like that where I'll be really depressed, and then I mean, you've got to calm down a bit. So the game serves as a distraction, and then you've got the music, and you can be like, the music is as gloomy as I am. And then once you've sort of gotten into the flow of the game, then one of those songs comes along, and because of the way I am, I just can't help but sing. And then you get the emotional catharsis, and all the stress starts going out through the song, and then eventually you can calm down. It can take a few hours, I gotta say, but eventually you calm down enough to go to sleep, and then hopefully it lifts and you at least don't feel as intensely in that space afterwards. So that's Stardew Valley. I haven't played it in a while because I haven't been that bad in a while. All the names of my livestock are not safe for vegans, because I basically named them after the food they turn into. I can't help myself. I'm the opposite. When I'm depressed, I listen to covers of anime music. Oh, okay. I don't listen to a lot of anime music. I probably still know some of the lyrics to the Neon Genesis Evangelion theme, you know, Zankoku no Tenshi no Yoni. So I've also got Beyond Earth, which is just good when I feel like I need a distraction. It's just a shame my computer struggles at the later stages of the game. It takes a lot of hours to get through a game as well. And you know, I've got the Beyond Earth, so the expansion Rising Tide got some bad reviews in Steam, but actually I don't mind it so much. It seems fine. I've also got The Sims 3, which I haven't played much in a while. I think I got it after reading a funny article about something someone did in the game. Someone's not home already, Hope. What? What? No one's due home, so I don't know what he's going on about. Hope? Might just be a bird or something. The Sims, so, yeah, I got that after reading funny articles about things someone did with, like, a homeless Sim or something. But I created a whole family of homeless Sims, and they used to go diving in the dumpster and all that, and instead of building them a house, I just built them a little park with, like, you know, random spots to sleep and whatever. I gave them a really shit life, and then sometimes, like, they just stand in the corner and start crying and whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm a horrible person. But I haven't played that in a while. I think I was still dating my last boyfriend at the time, and, you know, sometimes it's hard to go back to activities that you did with a certain person. But other than that, it was just kind of dumb, and the odd thing about The Sims, as opposed to like Sim City or whatever, is like The Sims, you're simulating someone's life, and I'm like, I'm having a hard enough time with my own life. Why do I need to manage someone else's life? Except to torture them, which, you know. Anyway, the game that I haven't tried yet is called Starbound. Yeah, I must have got that on special from Steam. I can't remember exactly what kind of a game it was. I think maybe you like build a, like it's sort of a 2D building a space base or something. I don't know. I haven't played it. I've never actually opened the game. Probably had it for a year or two, maybe longer. I think I got it the same time I got Stardew Valley. Anyway, so I've never played that game, but it's sitting there on my desktop with a little shortcut waiting to be played. No, instead of playing Starbound, I just went back to Age of Mythology. So that's installed on my computer, runs really nicely. That's the good thing about games that come off CD-ROMs, is they run really well on today's computers. Oh, I've also got Spellforce. Spellforce, what was that? That's like a sort of RPG thing, and I don't remember how far I got through. I probably don't even remember. Probably if I tried to play it again, I'd just wander around, not really sure exactly what the next place is to go. But, you know, you have your little team of magical people. Where is the case for that? Maybe that would help me remember what it is. I'm sure I would have had it in here somewhere, but I don't know. Spellforce, jeez. I must have found that probably at like JB Hi-Fi, and it was probably heaps cheap because, you know, I don't have the patience to pay for expensive games, and I don't have the computer for expensive games, you know. Probably the Civilization Beyond Earth was probably the most expensive one I've played in a while, and I probably got that on special at JB Hi-Fi, but then they're like, oh, by the way, you have to get Steam, and I was like, oh my god, I bought the damn thing in a shop, and you still want me to get Steam? Homeless Sims, jeez. By the way, have you heard of Skid Row in Los Angeles? I think heard of, but I have no idea what it is. Yeah, what else? And then, I actually want to play Free Space 2 now. But that is one of those games where you need somewhat better reactions. It's not a turn-based game like Civilization. Well, actually, Age of Mythology, whenever they come for me in big armies, I screw up that a lot pretty badly, especially on the hard mode. And that's not even the hardest mode they have. Oh my god. Yeah, no, Free Space 2. That's fun. You have to shoot stuff and, you know, what I think tab is the button to blast on the afterburners. Wow, I would really have to do the tutorials again because it's been too long. Once you get into it, though, it's pretty fun. Have you ever played Mass Effect? No. There's heaps of games I haven't played, mostly because I spent all my childhood playing Pokemon. You know, like going through so many batteries and whatever. Oh my god, it's so good when they finally brought out, the Game Boy Advance SP, I think, was the first one I had that had rechargeable batteries in it, like built in. I used to love that too because it was one of those screens where you could just sit in the sun and turn off the backlight, and it would look perfect. Whereas these days with the screen, you have to actually increase the brightness when you're in the sun because they work differently. So those old Game Boys used to just reflect the sun behind you. It was really good. Yeah, I miss my Game Boy Advance SP. I've probably still got it up in the cupboard somewhere, but you know, God knows, probably doesn't work anymore. Um, yeah, that was a good little machine. I was a bit unhappy when Game Boy. Oh no, they changed it to the Nintendo DS, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to replace the Game Boy." Yeah, right. Anytime they say that kind of bullshit. Be interesting to see what they do with the 3DS now that Nintendo Switch is a thing. I was actually following Nintendo Switch before its announcement to see if it would be something I wanted to buy, because I didn't buy into the 3DS. That's kind of when I stopped playing Pokemon. They just, I mean, Pokemon's changed a lot, and they just didn't offer me enough to make me feel like it was worth switching to 3DS. So I sort of was waiting to see if Switch would have enough appeal to get me to buy Nintendo again, but you know, not really. And I don't know. They've released some Pokemon games on it, but it's not the kinds of games I want to play. Um, and then the whole Sun and Moon thing still has things that annoy the shit out of me, but I think that's a sign I'm getting old and too nostalgic about how games used to be. Oh man. There's some good games these days. The game that I play the most at the moment is just on my phone. It's called Idle Apocalypse. So you just log in every now and then, and it kind of builds stuff in the background because I'm too lazy to, you know, put too much effort into it. But every now and then you check in and you see what things need to be upgraded and so on. Oh, is it raining again? It's pretty dark outside here in Sydney. I think this has just been a whole lot of rain. I think June might be our wettest month, like on average per year. Not every year, but this year it is living up to pretty wet. I think it's going to clear up by the time my next bonsai shift comes up, though, so that's good. I don't like working when it's heaps wet, especially because like all the plants get heaps wet. And I've got gardening gloves, but they're not waterproof. One of the advantages of the design is I can actually feel what I'm pinching back. But when, yeah, they get wet, and then when it's cold, your fingers freeze. The Nintendo Switch would probably cost a fortune in your Australian funny money. I think it's not too bad, but I haven't really paid attention because, you know, once they started announcing some more specifics about it, I was like, ah, actually, this isn't what I want. And there's some definite design flaws physically, because, you know, it's really designed for Japanese hands. Being half Japanese, I don't know. I think I've got long fingers. I don't know if that changes things. But if you were like a big dude, good luck with the standard controller on the Nintendo Switch. That didn't look like fun at all. Yeah, but no, the games just didn't attract me enough. And then these days I don't have a whole lot of money to be splashing around on frivolous things anyway. The next big expense is going to be the computer. The one Microsoft recommended to me, you know, that you do those quizzes. Stop me if I've said this before. Yeah, they are tiny, right? Probably okay for someone like me, but hey, you know, I should really be doing other things with my life at the moment, at least until I can get some proper income. Which is like, if I did do this gaming channel job, I would get some income. So, you know, that's another reason to look into it. Hey, but I'm more concerned about all the other things I mentioned. I have to buy a car if I can get a new PC. Oh my God, I'm so glad I don't need to buy a car. I can borrow one from the family now and then. Or public transport's not too bad. It's not the best in my area because we don't have trains, but you know, it's fine. I should just walk a little bit more every now and then anyway, just plan my time a little better. I'm the kind of person who just sits on the bus and sort of zones out. If I try and read on the bus, I feel a bit ill, and sometimes if I'm on the phone as well, I feel a bit ill. I don't like listening to music on public transport. So I just sort of sit there and stare at things, and yeah. So if the journey's too long, that can get a bit tedious. Although on the bus, you know, trying to read books on the bus and trying to do any of that kind of stuff is shit. But if it's on a train, especially when I used to be living out west, on the train it was actually okay because it was a smooth ride. Yeah, I just found it easier to deal with. So it's just unfortunate I live in a bus area rather than a train area. But hey, every dollar other than US is automatically funny money for me. I'm kidding. Oh, well. At least ours is plastic money instead of paper money. Is American money still made with paper? I think that's you know, a dodgy idea. Australia are the leaders in plastic currency, and we've got some of the best security measures on our money as well. So it may be funny money, but it's high quality stuff. I wonder if I have any notes on me. I don't think I have a lot of cash, but I don't know if you guys have seen the new Australian money. For those of you from a cotton and linen? Okay, well, that might as well be paper, to be honest. Here is, I'm not showing you anything funny from my wallet. Okay, here is one of the new Australian $5 notes. Both sides of it, right? So we've got, like, this is just some high-tech crazy stuff. It's some weird blend paper. I use cards for everything. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can use cards, but there's something nice about cash every now and then. But also, like, having cash and seeing it dwindle in my wallet helps me keep track of the fact that I've got no money left. But I will, like, if I go to Nando's a lot of the time, I'll just use my card because it's easier. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, hey. So, we've always had, like, we've had plastic money for ages, but now they've designed it with this you know, invisible kind of thing, and then they've got this, I don't know how well you can see, there's this little dot which is like for braille, so the $5 has a 1 dot to indicate that it's a $5, and then I think the 10 has 2 dots and so on. So yeah, pretty fun stuff, the $5 note. And I think they've got it for $10, and is it 50? Have they released the $50 yet? For some reason they're skipping the 20 for the moment. But yeah, no, it's got this cool holographic kind of stuff on it. Australian money, looks like Thai money. Well, the thing is, Australia does export our money-making system to a lot of different countries. So there are countries using our technology. Yeah, and you can actually feel the difference between different sections, and then there's all this. There's so many security features in this. It'd be so hard to, like, fake it. And then because it's plastic, it's really difficult to rip by accident. I mean, if you tried to cut it, of course, you probably could. But, you know, you're not going to accidentally run it through the wash and turn it into a piece of garbage. So that's Australian money. I like the design of Australian money. American money was weird. I probably still have some somewhere. I don't know where I would have put it, because, you know, I went to America in the end of 2006, and I think, did I do a video about that? Yeah, America's an odd place in general, though. You know, land of freedom and whatever, supposedly. I'm just like, what? How much would a bag of fast food cost you? It depends on what fast food you're getting. It's like, you know, McDonald's is ridiculously cheap. And then even, like, my favorite udon place, if you get the absolute basic udon, is less than $5. So, that's nice. Everything else costs a bit more, but, yeah. Ooh, what is the price of a McDonald's Happy Meal these days? I haven't actually been in a while. Anytime we get Macca's, usually, like, Dave goes and just brings home a massive box of the stuff, so I don't really know how much any of it costs anymore. Star Wars opens August 29th at Disney World. Oh, yeah, that's a thing. Hey, I wouldn't go as the very first thing when it opens, though, because the crowd's gonna be shit. You want the hype to die down. That's me, though. I hate crowds. 2 Big Macs, fries, and Coke. Why 2 Big Macs? I don't eat Big Macs, but, yeah. The interesting thing, when we went to America, is, like, everything is huge, so, you know, what Americans think is a regular Coke or whatever is actually quite big. So I find that interesting about America as well, because even if you tell me a size, I don't know for sure if it's going to be the same size. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Big Macs, and there's no way I could eat 2 in one sitting. I usually get either the cheeseburger, or if I'm feeling a little bit adventurous, the fish burger. Sometimes some nugs. Those are nice, with the barbecue sauce. I'll probably have to wait till January because I can't stand large crowds either. Yeah. Although Disney, all those kinds of Disney places have such crowds, and, you know, I'm just kind of like, do I really want to go? yeah, I'm not a huge fan of crowds. I hate the waiting around as well. So, I still never got around to posting those cruise videos. Hey, one of the things I didn't like about cruising is like, you're on this massive boat with a lot of people, and because no one can go anywhere else, everything's always crowded. So, like, I did rock climbing. I got to the top. I've got footage of me getting to the top of the damn rock climbing. Um, basically destroying all my muscles that have never haven't done anything in ages, but I made it. But I had to wait in such a long queue to get up there, and like they had this, on the top of the boat, they have this arm, and you can go up into the little bubble, and then it lifts up, and then you can see like the view all the way around the ship. We waited for ages with Mikey, and like it was actually really impressive that Mikey stood there for so long waiting in a queue. And it was kind of cold out as well. So, yeah, well done, Mikey, waiting through that. But it's just like there's so many people everywhere because that's how they make money, I guess. They try and offer a lot of different things, but you still got to wait so long. I didn't like that about the whole cruise thing, apart from like seasickness as well, because the first couple of days the water was really rocky, so I struggled with that. Anyway, cruising. I should get on to those videos, but I've still got to get. I think I got the videos and photos from Mum and Dad, but I've got to scan some of the other photos we got. McDonald's hamburgers, buffalo chips. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know what you mean by buffalo chips. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, Australian money, I mean, what's the exchange rate at the moment? We get 70 cents for every Aussie dollar, if we want to get American. It's sort of been up and down over the years. There was a time where our money was worth more than American money. That was a bit odd. Made it cheap to buy things online, though. Yeah, but no, Australia's economy is a little bit shaky at the moment. And, the Reserve Bank has reduced interest rates and the government's, reducing taxes and so on. And I don't think either of these things are really the right approach. I mean, there was, what was it on 7:30 last night? There's a TV program called 7:30. It used to be called the 7:30 Report, but they rebranded and I don't know why. But they were doing a report about the new tax sort of stuff, the tax cuts that have been passed, and they got this lawyer chick on, and she earns, I think they said she earns more than 200,000 a year or something, really high income, and even she's getting a tax cut, and she's like, why is the government wasting this on me? Like, if I get $11,000 extra a year, maybe I spend a little bit more of that, but it doesn't make a huge impact. And I'm like, yes, thank you, lawyer lady. I mean, that it's in my opinion, the wrong way to go about it, because they're already, like, the people who are that rich are already making businesses. They're already doing all that kind of stuff. I don't feel like they're going to do extra. Burger King is good too. Then, of course, KFC. I don't go to either of those so much. KFC, the last time I went to KFC was really greasy, although in Japan it was pretty good. My mum's saying that actually in Australia KFC has gotten better lately. Burger King, where's the nearest Burger King? I don't even know. There's not that many around. Maybe at like Central Station there might still be a Burger King there, but I don't go there that much anymore, so it's been a long time since I've been to a Burger King. Anyway, yeah, the tax cuts I don't think are gonna make a huge difference. I think what they really need to do is raise New Start, for example, because a good greasy, no, it was to the point that I couldn't finish eating it. I don't know if that's just my stomach, but yeah. No, the thing about New Start, I mean, I was on New Start for a bit until I just got the shits and was like, I can't do this. I would rather make no money and have a chance at good mental health than have their money and have them constantly make me feel like shit. So, but, I'm lucky that I can ask my parents for help. So, I don't have to have New Start to survive, but there are a lot of people out there who do. And the thing is, like, I mean, they showcased a couple who are on those kinds of Centrelink payments, and they can barely even pay for shoes. And, like, how are you going to pass a job interview if you if you can't buy good enough clothes and so on? and then, if they bought those shoes, that money goes back into the economy. These are the kinds of people who can't save money. Like, if they get a tax break, they can't just shove it into savings. They kind of have to keep spending it. So any money you give to them is going to go back into the economy from the bottom up. Whereas if you give the tax breaks to the top end of town, they can just pop it into a savings account or whatever. It doesn't, I'm a bit like, how are they not, fixing that problem? Because even the guy who froze the indexing or whatever, the increases to New Start, John Howard, he froze them, I think. I think that was him. And even he's like, no, it's too low now, it's poverty kinds of, below poverty line maybe. Pizza Hut pizza? No, Domino's. Domino's is the one. Maybe that's just, actually we do have a Pizza Hut near us. And a Domino's. But we always get Domino's. I like Domino's. I don't know why. I mean, it's probably been a while since I had Pizza Hut. But my favorite Domino's pizza is, our menus might be different to yours, but I like the Supreme Pizza. Swap the sauce for barbecue instead of tomato and take out the capsicum. That's a good pizza. Although there was a new one. Shit, there's a new one that was really nice, and I'm kind of like, maybe I should switch to that one instead of my old Supreme pizzas. The peri peri one's okay sometimes. But no, there was another one. I think it had like a garlic kind of sauce. I don't know. But yeah, no, we haven't had pizza for a while. I should talk to Dave about that, because he's usually the one who gets us pizza. Anyway, I probably shouldn't talk too much about the taxes and stuff. I don't want to get into too many political arguments, but I just feel like our economy is not doing great, and we're not really doing the best job at getting things started again. Yeah, I feel like New Start really needs a bit of a boost, because, how are those people going to get jobs anyway if they can barely afford to even eat, kind of thing. Real shame. And they treat the people so badly in that system. I'm sure there are some people who are dole bludging or whatever, but I think there's a deeper systematic problem, unfortunately. Tax cuts to the rich here are infuriating. Oh my god, it's so much worse in America, because America does have a much more capitalistic focus. Like, here in Australia, every now and then you see memes and things about how the corporations are controlling things and whatever, but actually I think that's because they're looking at American culture rather than Australian culture. Australia has its problems, to be sure, but America, holy shit, the welfare system is messed up. Yeah, the American system, as much as I complain about the things going wrong in Australia with all this stuff, holy shit, America, the corporations basically do own America, because they have so much power to lobby and all that. I wouldn't go as far as George Carlin in terms of conspiracy theory. They own America, like his level of, they own it, but they definitely have a huge amount of influence. Also, America's voting system is set up in a way that is a little bit easy to exploit, I would say. So yeah, good luck. The fact that the Democratic Party exists and that there are increasingly people within it who are less into that corporate kind of stuff, I think that's a sign that there are other people. Like, it's not as conspiracy like that George Carlin would say, but they have a lot of control, yeah. Just because, like, money talks in America so much. You need so much money just to run for president. Australia does have, like, you do have to be able to run a campaign. But we had that dude, Clive Palmer, spent millions of dollars and hardly got any votes. So in the Australian system, money isn't enough. You have to be, like, not crazy and not have shown yourself to be shit at this stuff. So... yeah. Oh, your messages are getting kind of chopped up again. It's only showing like a section at a time. And politicians have a lot of inside information they profit from. Yeah. America's really nuts, because like the Democrats seem to be in some ways the more reasonable party, maybe, but there's a lot going on there that I'm like, holy shit, how does America, I don't know. Right now they definitely look less crazy just because they're not the Trump mob. I mean, there's some stuff that Trump does that's not as bad as some of the media makes it out to be, but overall, he's a nutcase. It'd be like if Pauline Hanson became prime minister. Except prime ministers don't have the same power that a president has, and that's why I think we should stay in the monarchy system, because anytime the Republicans, we have the people who are pushing to make Australia a republic, and I'm just like, you guys are crazy. There's so many things you need to think of. It's not just about becoming a republic, it's about what system you replace our current system with. And I think our current system, for all its flaws, is doing okay. It's not America. America's democracy is interesting to look at. They keep it that way to keep everyone fighting each other instead of fixing the government. Yeah, I don't know. American politics is its own sort of odd kind of thing. It doesn't really make sense. And then there's so many ways that exist to like screw things up. So yeah, I don't envy you guys who are stuck in America. It would be hard pressed to convince me to go there, even to visit these days. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the next presidential election, though. I haven't really been following, but like there's 20-something candidates trying to run on the Democratic side. If they figure out fusion for energy and get AI and automation going, then the UBI will work. Oh, are you an Andrew Yang fan? I haven't heard much of him talk, but he seems like an interesting dude. Just UBI, I feel like it's the right vibe, but maybe not necessarily the best model. I've seen some other models around universal basic income that might be a little bit more practical, because super rich people don't need $1,000 a month or something. So you could still grade it, just simplify it compared to, the current way that welfare systems work. I can't remember what the system was that looked the best. It was a long time ago. Oh my god. It's always a little bit like when the reconnecting wheel comes up, I'm like, oh my god, is it gonna ruin my entire stream? Let me just check which internet I'm on. Okay, so I might be on the dodgy internet. I don't know. Let me know if it's getting really crap and I can switch over and we can go into the other room. But yeah, no, a while ago I did come across a variation on universal basic income that I thought worked better than the standard model where it's just the flat rate. Yang, no, he's like Asian Obama. Oh, well, he just seems to be the guy that is most pushing the UBI over in America. Yeah, so I don't know. He's going for the Democrat side, but I've seen a lot of people complaining he's not been giving enough time to speak. I don't really know. That whole the whole shit show of the Democrats with, a gazillion candidates and so on. I didn't watch the debates or anything, but I follow a couple of pages on Facebook, and they were doing sort of live little updates, and I was just like, oh my god. I don't know. I don't know how you would solve America's problems. I don't know how you would solve America's government. I just know that it's pretty messed up, and I don't envy you guys who have to put up with that whole thing. Because, even though I say the Democrats seem less crazy, there's still a lot of issues there. I don't see the logic in having a president. They were never supposed to have so much power. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I can see the appeal in voting directly for the leader, because we don't have that here in Australia. We vote for parties, and then the parties choose the leader. But I don't know. I mean, with our system, if you think about Australia over the past 10 years or so, we keep changing our prime minister because the parties themselves keep stabbing their own leaders in the back, based on public opinion polls, which aren't as accurate as they used to be anyway, so good luck to you. But our system, I don't think there's any one thing that does it, but our system is set up in such a way that you wouldn't get a Trump here. He just wouldn't be successful enough. Even what's the worst? I think the worst we've had in recent years might have been Tony Abbott, and he got knifed by his own party anyway. Still caused some trouble. I'm glad we finally voted him out, but yeah, that's as bad as it really got. And he tried to pass a really terrible, unfair budget in 2014, but it got shut down. So you know, if the Liberals had more of a majority in both houses, they might have passed it. So, you know, we could have had some rough times there. But that's not how it worked. And I think increasingly people are unhappy with politics. So increasingly they vote for minor parties. And minor parties are the ones who can throw a spanner in the works and stop some of the worst shit getting through. So, yeah, you just wouldn't have a Trump and you wouldn't have basically the situation that America does, where a lot of crap gets passed and people aren't being looked after. If Australian governments didn't look after the people, they would be crucified in the polls. The money wasted in campaigning alone is outrageous. Oh my god, yeah. The expense that you guys have to. Oh. And the fact that American election campaigns run for so long, like what, the vote isn't. It's not even this year, it's next year, isn't it? My god, it's bad enough when our guys spend a couple months campaigning, but you guys have years. Oh, and then there's the midterms pretty much straight after, so you guys are like in constant election mode. That's so tiring. I don't like, the reason I haven't been keeping up lately is because I just had enough, you know? 2016, okay, there's a bunch of interesting stuff going on in the world. I was depressed. I had nothing better to do with my time. So, sure. But then this year, I mean, I think last year, there were by-elections because there's a whole bunch of bullshit going on all over the place. People quitting all over the place. So, by-elections. And then this year, we've had state election, federal election. It's just, there's too many elections all at once for me, because we don't usually have them all happen in a sequence like that. Oh my god, I've had enough. I can't deal with local politics. I'm tired of international politics. Oh my god, it's just too much. And yeah, the idea of having to sit through 2 years of campaigning, just fuck off, basically. I mean, I guess America's process, because the parties have to choose someone they want as a candidate for the leader, you know, to be president. So you got to whittle down these 20-something people who want to be the Democratic candidate. And, you know, good luck if it even turns out right, because, you know, it sounded like some funny business happened between, you know, Bernie's chances versus Hillary. But hey, whatever. Oh, I just don't have the patience for politics at the moment. I mean, I sort of vaguely keep up with some stuff, but wow. Fucking wow. Campaigning should only be allowed 6 months before the election. 6 months is still too much. 3 months at most. Oh my god, let the people rest, you know? If you can't convince people in 3 months to vote for you, maybe you don't deserve the position. Just saying, you know? Far out. You know, I mean, like, so the Democrats at the moment, they don't even know who they want to promote. So fair enough, they can go off and, you know, have a fight amongst themselves, maybe. But yeah, the primary process for America is also very odd. Like, you have to vote to try and decide who your options to vote for are or some shit. I don't know. I like the Japanese system. I think they have less than a month. Bernie is a silly old man. Have you seen that game? Someone, I don't know if it's a real game, but it's like the Bernie bubble popping thing, because when he talks, he's always pointing. He's like da 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 da. So someone made a game where like you've got him talking, and then there's all these bubbles, and then you have to like pop with his pointy finger or something. I think that's an actual game and not just like a comedy sketch thing. Yeah. I don't know. You've got some interesting characters over there, probably more interesting than our mob. Because, yeah, we don't really have... I mean, Clive Palmer was an interesting dude. He is basically Australian discount Trump. But he didn't get anywhere. He just annoyed the shit out of us with his ads all over YouTube. You open up YouTube and there's just yellow banners everywhere. And everyone's like, oh my god, go away. You know, he's a good argument for ad block. Oh man, I think he spent like, what, was it 1,500 or 15,000 for each vote that he actually ended up getting, and he got no power out of it. He failed miserably. All campaigns here are talking shit about their competitors and saying nothing of their own policies. I have seen some candidates on some talk shows actually giving some policy, but I don't know what they do with the rest of their time, I'm going to say. I know, like, that Andrew Yang guy is the UBI guy. I know basic stuff like that, but there's too many to keep track of. And then I don't really have a stake in it because I'm all the way in Australia. It's not like I have a vote. I would just hope that America gets its shit together, because some of the things that the current American government is doing saying are affecting international stuff. There are a handful of things that I think might turn out for the better good, but most of it is like, what are you people doing? But yeah, I try not to look too much at it because I'll just get stressed out. Oh man, what's a topic other than politics that we can ramble on for a bit? Oh, we're coming up to 3:30, so from here on, if I disappear, it's because someone's coming home. The trade war is getting old, yeah. I mean, there's some argument to say that China, if you're talking about China in particular, I think China, that's the one that affects Australia the most, so that's the one that I'm most likely to talk about. But it's a traveling carnival. Oh man. Yeah, no, like there's some weird shit in American politics. Oh my god. But yeah, the trade war with China, I mean, it's actually been good for Australia, I think, because China worried about its economy and started importing, I think, is it iron they're trying to get from us? I don't know. Something to do with our trade surplus. It's been good for us, the trade war, at least in terms of, you know, that kind of mining type stuff. I don't know about the rest of it. But there is some argument to say that maybe China did need someone to, you know, say, hey, you guys are a little bit shit. And Trump is probably one of those, like, you know, you would have to be as crazy as Trump to actually do it for real. So there's a bit of that. One thing that annoys me is a little bit like, okay, yeah, China has done some stuff that, you know, maybe isn't the fairest internationally, but could you also maybe say to them, hey, stop being dicks to your people? Because like that's a wasted opportunity, and Trump being Trump, he wouldn't think of that. He's only interested in, I don't know, the money side of things. He wouldn't care about the humanitarian side of things. I just feel like China could be such an awesome country. China definitely has been abusing their power at home and abroad. Yeah, like I think China could be really amazing, but the thing for me that's holding them back the most is that they're kind of dicks to their people. If you treat people well, they're not gonna rise up against you, right? But if you keep treating them like shit, that's why you get protests and so on. I know in China it's cracked down, but you know, Hong Kong has been protesting and so on. So you know, it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. Hopefully it doesn't end up in tragedy, like certain other historical events where people protested and were shot down by the army. But anyway, especially their treatment of indigenous peoples. Oh yeah, there's so much bullshit going on in China, and it's just like, you know, they could be so amazing, especially like you look historically, China has been able to achieve so much, but they're just dicks to their people. And you know, I can't, like, I mean, I guess some of there's some cultural stuff, but you kind of wonder if the people felt more free to be able to do other things. Don't you think that it would be good for the country and, you know, give people more opportunities? But I don't know. I mean, you know, I never really studied economics. I did, what did I do? I did commerce in year 10, and then straight after that, fucking John Howard brought in work choices, and then suddenly I didn't know what my rights were anymore, so well done that. That's how you lose elections, bring in unpopular shit like that actually impacts people's lives, but we will kick you out when you do that. Anyway, I wanted to try and get off the topic of politics. So we're at the 3:30 mark, like 3:30 p.m. here. Somebody I noticed in the States is Trey Gowdy, but he's not running for an office. Yeah, I think also there's too much focus on the presidential run. You know, if like the Democrats talk a lot about how they want to get rid of Trump and blah blah blah, but if they don't also gain power in the houses, good luck to changing anything. I think they have the lower house now, but the Republicans still have the upper house, so it's a bit like when we have different people in different houses. It's like, how can you get anything done when the other guys can constantly block everything? So there's that. And then also the Democrats are a little bit weak, so they will pass things that the other guys want to pass, instead of blocking it in return. They're too scared to fight the same level of dirty back. I don't know. It's weird looking at American politics, because it works so differently to what it does here. My God, I'm just noticing all the dust in this fucking area. if I do get a new computer, I'm just gonna have to like rejig my entire desk. I want to try and see Godzilla this weekend off. I took a paid holiday today so I could have a 4-day weekend. Oh, yeah, cool. Because, like, what, you got the July 4th and then the Friday and then Saturday, Sunday? Yeah, that sounds nice. Godzilla was fun. Definitely, like, try not to think too much. It's not one of those thinking movies. It's basically the Transformers, but with monsters and no boobs. So, yeah. Otherwise, what other movies are around? I don't know. I don't keep up with movies very well. Yeah, my life's kind of odd. I kind of just look at the things I'm interested in and I've become a little bit disconnected. Probably because I don't go out very much. I don't really have a whole lot of incentive to go out. I think, if I could find a band, that'd give me some incentive to go to gigs again. I keep, like, events come up on Facebook and I'm like, oh, maybe I would go to that. But then the day comes and I'm just like, oh, I'm too busy with this other thing, or I'm too tired, or it's raining, or whatever. And I keep finding excuses not to go. Also, it does cost money to go out. I don't drink alcohol, so I'm not spending on that. But, catching the bus costs money, especially because I'm not a student, so I'm paying full adult rates even though I don't have a huge income. Was that a Pez dispenser? Did you just get you in a time machine? Who has Pez dispenser in 2019? Pez is still around. I'm either at home or work, but I'm trying to get out more. Yeah, here's my, I think it might be from Jurassic World or something. My friend got it for me. Raw. So, Pez dispenser. Oh, there's actually Pez in there. Oh, I'll eat that later. I thought it was empty. It's just been lying in all the dust. But it'll still be good. It's just sugar, right? Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man. What was I just rambling about? I've forgotten again anyway. Oh. Pez is awesome. They have a store at Islands of Adventure at Universal. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, Pez has been around for ages. Ages. There's a whole bunch of different Pez. I think there's probably people who collect this shit too. No. Oh, what's going on? My ants. There's an ant that's about to drop something in the water, but it won't let go. It just keeps running around the jar. I haven't posted any ant videos in a while. I just don't have the patience for it. I feel like I should be trying to be more productive. Yesterday I wrote my longest poem in a long time. It was based on a dream I had. Because I haven't been sleeping that great. So yesterday... Oh, hey, Hopi, how you doing? You want to come up? You come up? No, you're just going to sit there. Yeah, yesterday I got up around 7 maybe because I couldn't sleep. And then I went back to bed around 8 and then woke up, I don't know when, and then tried to do stuff, but I just was struggling to maintain consciousness. And I haven't even done bonsai this week. It was just like from not sleeping well. So I had to sleep around 1 p.m. I think, maybe woke up about 3, pretty bad. And in that time I had this crazy dream. So I wrote a pretty long poem about that, with some imagery I didn't think would come out of my head. So, well done me. Because I just couldn't concentrate on anything, but I was able to write, so that just kept me occupied for a few hours, sitting there, in between, getting distracted by things going on in the house. Have you seen the casts they make of any colonies by pouring molten metal down their holes and digging it up once it cools? I have seen videos of that, so yeah, that's interesting, but my ants just stay on the side of the glass jar. The smaller jar of ants, I think they're all dead, so that's unfortunate. But my original jar's going strong. They've still got babies, so, good work. Every now and then I see an insect and drop it in there for them to eat. Yeah, where did Hope go? I think he left again because I didn't give him enough attention. I think he must know that it's almost time for people to come home. I don't know who's looking after Mikey though, so I don't know when they're going to come. As a kid, I liked Pop Rocks. It was like drugs for children. Is that like that popping candy and like you bite on it and then it's like in the back of your mouth, you hear all the popping kind of stuff? I love that stuff. Yeah, that stuff's pretty fun. I haven't had like the proper stuff in a while, but they have it in that Cadbury chocolate embedded in there. That's kind of fun. Yeah, I should try and find more of that. I feel like I was talking about something before, but I've completely forgotten what it is. So, that is what you mean? Yeah, cool. All right, so what else is going on? Well, I mean, tomorrow's the weekend, so today, tomorrow, I suppose I'll sort of shift between trying to write down some sort of script sort of thing for the gaming channel, you know, trying to get the job doing that. I might write down a few things and think about how I'm going to do a video example for that. And sort of go between that and maybe trying to finish off this song, because I've really got to write the lyrics now and then try and practice that. Other than that, I don't know what's going on with Punk Rave Australia, because I have sent them a video, haven't got any feedback, but I'm pretty sure they know it's there. So I don't know what they're waiting for to release that, because I don't think any of the other reviewers have uploaded anything, so maybe they just don't want, maybe they're waiting for someone else to upload something so that there's something between my reviews. Yeah, I'm not really sure. So I don't know when that's going to be up, but like I've got everything ready. I've got an Instagram post ready, even like the Instagram post description, all that set up. It's just I'm waiting for them to go through. After that, I don't know when they're going to send me more stuff. And it's going to be a little bit difficult over the next 2 weeks. So I think today is the last day of public school. And then the next 2 weeks will be school holidays here in New South Wales. So Dave, my brother who's a teacher, he's going to be home a lot, and yeah, I'll have to, if I'm going to film that kind of stuff, I will have to kick him out so that I can actually do it. So that's going to make things a little bit difficult with live streaming. I will try and give some warning. Tomorrow is the weekend. How many don't you have a 7-day-a-week weekend? No, see, the thing about the weekends is that's when everyone's home. So to me, I still notice the weekend just because everyone's home and I don't have as much space to myself. I mean, sometimes during the week, mum's home, but it's a different thing when everyone's home and it can be quite noisy. During the week, though, yeah, I'll try and give warning about when I'm going to be streaming next. Oh, shit, my phone is running out of battery, so let me just move over here. I don't know why it's running out of battery so much faster today. We'll just plug that in there. Okay. And we're charging. Where can I put this so that I can... Sorry, usually we get a bit further before the battery goes out like that. Yeah, anyway, so I'll keep trying to warn you when I'm going to be live streaming, but it might get a little bit trickier. So there's that coming up for 2 weeks. We'll do our best to keep things as normal as possible. What else is happening? I think those are the main things. We'll try and do more of those destroyer videos for you, because it seems like a lot of you guys were waiting for that. So yeah, I've set up the playlist. So there's that. And what else? There's so many other videos I've had on my to-do list. It's just like, you know, trying to get around to them and all. And then now if I do end up getting the gaming channel job, gosh, I'm gonna have to be really on top of all that stuff. So yeah, gonna be interesting depending on what happens. If it doesn't happen though, I just keep going about my life the way I have been. Try and do a bit more music and arts kind of stuff. Yeah, one of the benefits, I suppose, about not having much of a job is that I can do that stuff. I just need to be more disciplined. It can be really hard to get on top of everything. So, yeah, really need some more self-discipline. I also really need to exercise, but it's so hard to convince myself. I have been doing more singing practice lately, though, so, you know, small steps, one thing at a time. Try and gradually motivate myself instead of trying to chuck myself in the deep end, you know, because if you try and do too much all at once, you just sort of collapse. So yeah, I'm trying to just sort of manage my life. I already thought, oh no, here comes the next sniper ending of the stream. Yeah, I don't know who's looking after Mikey today, and I don't know what time he's due home because there's been some changes there. So yeah, I don't know how much time we have. So if anyone has any quick questions that I should get to before we get kicked off and I have to, do all that, type them up now. I'm horrible at self-discipline and self-motivation. Yeah, it's really difficult. Hey, it was probably worse when I was depressed. I feel like there are certain things in my life that I've gotten more organized with. I definitely feel like with YouTube, I've gotten into a better flow because, record early in the week, post an early video, and then stream later in the week seems to be a nice little pattern for me. Especially because, like, on the weekend, I can't really film anything. So if I plan out a few things that I want to film, the weekend's a good time to do it. So I guess, yeah, this weekend I'll try and, I'll plan out the rest of the next Destroyer video and then, also that, short clip I need to do for the gaming guys to try and get that job. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens. It does sound like they're looking at a few other people besides me to handle their gaming channel. So, let's not get our hopes up too much. But it'd be a nice opportunity, I think. Could be interesting. There are those few concerns I've had, but I think overall the pros maybe outweigh the cons. My energy goes to working 40 hours a week. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's all right. Don't worry. Like I know the system's doing something weird. It keeps chopping your messages up. But yeah, no, one of the interesting things I spent so much of my life at uni, way too much, keep doing uni jobs. Oh my god, the shadow of my glasses from that light is super weird. Anyway, one of the nicer things I suppose about working as opposed to being at uni is like with uni, you go to uni, you sit in the class, you do all that kind of work, and then you go home and you have to do homework, and it's like at least with normal jobs you don't have homework. That's kind of nice. I still screwed it up for myself back when I had that almost full-time job and then would come home and do band stuff. I basically gave myself homework. Yeah, so it has been nice to just relax without too much of a job. I wanted to be a professional college student. I think you do that by like doing research degrees. Like if you go and get a PhD, you can, at least in Australia, you can basically get paid to be a student because you're doing research, right? After that, then you can keep doing that kind of research, but then maybe you teach as well, and then you're in academia full time. Should have gone into teaching. You can always go into teaching later. I mean, I don't know how America's system works, but I know a lot of people who change careers later in life to become teachers once they've had enough of the regular day job and they want to give back to the community sort of thing. Because, teachers aren't the best paid. I think maybe it's a bit easier for teachers in Australia as opposed to America. America doesn't sound like a good place for teachers. Depends probably what you're teaching. But hey, for teaching, I don't know that I have patience to be a teacher. I definitely don't have patience for the kids. I did that art school thing, remember? My first major was music education. You could maybe teach private music. That's a possibility. I've been considering teaching growling. I've just got to decide exactly how I want to do it. I would rather teach in person, I think, but because I don't really have space, maybe I have to look at the Skype teaching thing, but I don't know about that. But yeah, no, you could always teach privately. That'd probably be more profitable depending on how you do it. I really don't know what the situation's like in America, but hey. I know I couldn't teach small kids because they just can't pay attention. They're so frustrating. Like at that art school, oh my god. But I have a working with children check. For all that's worth. It's good for 5 years. I don't know if I accidentally fall into a job that works with kids. I don't really want to though. I don't think I could teach high school kids depending on how annoying they want to be. I think I'd be more like teaching adults who at least can think, or I'm being mean to the kids, but statistically they're gonna be a little bit more annoying, I feel. That especially the little kids. I don't know, if I was gonna teach, I would, like, at the moment the only thing I feel like I could really teach might be growling technique. And I don't think I would want to teach anyone who is young. Not a big fan. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But yeah, so if I was going to teach growling, I don't know that I would want to teach anyone below a certain age. Oh, you're not a big fan of kids? Yeah, I don't know. It was okay when I was a kid, but now if you're trying to teach, if you're just trying to play with them, maybe not such an issue, but trying to teach them something and trying to get them to pay attention, yeah, I don't know. But so, especially with growling, because growling can damage your throat, I think it would be probably irresponsible to try and teach it to a young kid, unless they were already really good with regular singing. You know, if they already know how to breathe, if they already know some of the anatomy, just wave around your masters. You should get a real job. No, because they'll see the art side of it and they'll be like, oh, art. I mean, the way it's worded, I think, because it says Master of Art in my qualifications as opposed to Master of Fine Arts, means some people maybe mistake it for Master of Arts, as in humanities, when actually I did visual arts. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but it does cause a bit of confusion. But yeah, still, it's not really the most employable. I keep doing degrees that aren't really employable, you know, the music degree and then the art degree. Good work, me, but I guess, you know, studying for my sanity, especially the art degree, that was just to keep me occupied while I was too depressed to do anything else. And, you know, it worked, it gave me something to do, got my solo music sort of going, so there's that. Yeah. I'm lucky to be in a situation where I can do that, though. Not everyone is. Um, mm. Anyway, what's this thing? This is a bag. I know it looks like a cone, but it's actually a bag. I'll show you that one day. I just can't be bothered because then I'd have to fix it. Yeah, no. What else is going on? I wanted to be an archaeologist and anthropologist, but my parents said I couldn't make any money. Oh my god. I hate when they give that as the reason that you shouldn't do something because, like, if you get good enough at something, you can make money from just about anything because you get to a certain level of expertise, and then at that point, people actually need your expertise, will pay for it. I still haven't made any money. Oh man. I was into paleontology when I was a little kid, you know, because I was really into dinosaurs. That would have been interesting. Australia, I think maybe in Western Australia there are some places where there's a bit of potential for dig sites. But that was a long time ago. I think I would be more interested in living dinosaurs rather than digging them up. What else did I used to want to be? There's so many things I used to want to be. Like when I remember in preschool listing like 20 things off to one of the teachers there, and they're just like, okay. Apparently it's unusual to want to be a lot of different things. Like even when I was choosing my subjects for the HSC, so in Australia, you know, the final exams, well, at least in New South Wales, it's called the Higher School Certificate, HSC, and you work towards that in your last 2 years of school. So at the end of year 10, you start choosing your subjects for year 11 and 12. Usually you'll do an extra subject in year 11 and then drop back so that in year 12 you don't have as much of a workload. But year 11 lets you sample the different things. So if you really suck at something or really hate it, you can drop it and still do the rest of your stuff. Yeah, but so when we were choosing subjects for the HSC, I listed so many things. It was so hard to pick. And I think at a parent-teacher meeting or something, my parents mentioned that to the teacher, like, you know, oh, she's got this huge list of things she wants to try. And they're like, oh, that's really good. That's really unusual. Usually people are trying to figure out which ones they do want to do. They don't have enough. And I'm like, all right, well, that makes me a bit weird. Hey, I want to learn everything. Yeah, oh my God, so many things that I wanted to try. But, you know, in the end, there's only so much time. I think that's one of the things, the appeals of, like, a character like Doctor Who, because he lives long enough to be able to try a whole bunch of different things, and, you know, he's also becomes a different person every now and then, so, yeah, maybe that's part of why I got into that show. But yeah, no, when I was really little, like I wanted to be a fireman, I wanted to be a priest, I wanted to be like everything that I ever heard of, I basically wanted to have a go at. Obviously, now that I'm old and grumpy, that's not really the case, but there's a lot of different things that I still find interesting and would have liked to have studied if I had the concentration span. Otherwise, though, I just sit on YouTube and, I don't know, watch Sam O'Nella Academy explaining how chickens became a thing. And that's enough to satisfy my curiosity. There's too many things to try and learn. Sometimes you need that bite-sized sort of summary because, you know, to go in depth too much in any particular subject would mean sacrificing the time you need to look at another subject, don't you think? Or am I just going off on a random tangent and everyone's like, oh yeah, here she goes? Oh, man, how did I even get onto that? I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be interesting out of there. It's just not enough time, and then your concentration sort of goes. I'm gonna be an aeronautical and aerospace engineer. Yeah, that could have been interesting too. And I did start the mechatronic engineering and medical science degree. They also had an aeronautics version of that degree, but I was like, or maybe it was aerospace. I don't remember. I don't know the exact differences between them either. I just did the regular one though. It's just that it was so slow and so boring. It didn't last. It would have killed me. I'm sure by the end we'd be working on robots, but it'd be much more of a systematic kind of thing, and I don't think it would be as fun as like my idealized version in my head was thinking. But I think that was the period of my life where I felt like maybe I needed to actually make some money because before that I had been. When did I break up with my ex? Maybe that was late 2012, and so I must have applied while I was still dating him, and it was kind of like, gee, he's not making in any real money, so I guess it's up to me. I should go back to school and actually get a degree in something that does make money. So that's partly why I went back to that. And I was interested in robotics, so mechatronic engineering, and then the medical science side of it. I was thinking, well, robots are fine, but where there's a lot of potential is if you combine it with biology, medicine, so on, and get into the prosthetic limbs kind of thing, replacement limbs for people who need it. Because the biological side of things, there's limits to that. Maybe robotics could help with that. So that was some of the thought process. But I broke up with him before that degree started, so motivation there gone. It was a shitty motivation too because he was a dickhead. But then actually going to the classes and being like, you know what, this isn't really what I want to be doing. I'm more into the fun side of robotics rather than all this crap, and they're so slow. Like, what's a system? Oh my god, are you serious? Oh, the system has inputs in the form of sensors and outputs in the form of like actuators and all that. I'm like, fuck off! Fuck off! I just, like, why am I in this class? I would love to be a cyborg. Oh my god, I used to get this robotics magazine, and there was this guy who kind of was like, I'm a cyborg because I have a chip in my wrist or whatever that tells the building when I'm coming so that the doors open for me. Yeah, do you know a simpler way to get the doors to open for you? Just have a motion sensor. You don't need it to talk to a chip in your fucking arm, Just because you can doesn't mean it's a good idea. Sometimes simple is better. Anyway, that's another set of things. But yeah, no. After I pulled out before census date, so I only did that for like 3 weeks maybe. I did played around in Microsoft Excel making dice games and so on. I was like, yeah, shit, hey. Stuff I could probably teach myself if I was so inclined, but no. What, the chemistry stuff? Meh. I ended up not going to the chemistry lectures. I just listened to them online. I only did 3 weeks of the course and already thought it was that shit that I would only listen online. And then you go to the practicals, and that's not as bad, but meh. Because it was an engineering degree, I had to go to the TAFE and like get my steel toe boots on, and we were supposed to play with some of that, but I don't think we ever got to any fun stuff before I left. What was the other subject? I think there was one more subject that we're doing, and I don't even remember. I don't know, I didn't enjoy it. It was moving way too slowly, and there's nothing you can do about that. I'm sure once they got up to the meat of it, I would have started struggling and, actually be at the same pace as everyone else. But that introductory shit, that's one of the problems with constantly quitting degrees and then starting new ones, is you end up being a first semester student way too many times, and you're just like, oh my god, we have to go through this dance again before we get up to anything actually interesting. Fuck. I think actually I didn't have to do another subject. I think it would have been maths, and because I'd already been to the same uni and passed those units, I didn't have to do the maths again. Really enjoyed building jet engines at school. You get to build jet engines at school? Oh my god. There's a lot of stuff about going to an all-girls school that kind of sucked in some terms of the things we actually got to do. Is someone here? Because yeah, apparently at my brother's school, my brother went to an all-boys school. They actually got to play with electronics, whereas we didn't. The most exciting boyish kind of thing we got to do was maybe woodworking and just like made puzzles. Um, yeah, whereas my brother actually got to play with electronics, and I'm just like, what if we got to do that? Maybe I would have actually gotten into electronics back if you got me early enough, because we had the Lego robots in the computer studies department, and I was pretty good with that, hogging all the extra pieces, and convincing my partner that we should program on this different screen, and basically taking too much control, because I can be a bit of a control freak. It's one of my problems. Yeah, that was cool having access to robot Lego, but there's a lot that my school didn't offer, despite being, the Catholic private girls' school thing. Just because, like, things weren't girly enough, the teachers didn't know enough, the fucking gifted and talented department was shit. Yeah, real shame. Real shame. There's a school, I think, in Melbourne that, degrees just prove that you can complete a task, then you can pick any real job. That's not true, because if you do a medical degree, you've actually learned some skills. There are some degrees that are more meaningful than just the piece of paper. It actually shows that you can do some pretty full-on stuff. So there's limits to how far you can take that logic about just get the piece of paper. It probably helps look impressive, but if you don't have the right skills, there's only so much of the fake it till you make it that you can do. I do know one person who has faked it and made it. But yeah, no, there's only so much you can get away with. And then I've got to keep my mental health in perspective as well. That's my mental health's probably the biggest challenge in terms of jobs, because I've got to really manage that. Yeah. There was a school in Melbourne, that's what I was going to say. There's a primary school in Melbourne that looks like it had some really interesting tech stuff, but that wouldn't have existed when I was a kid, so there's no point really thinking about what could have been. And it's too late anyway. My life has taken this path that, I don't think anyone around me would have expected, and now I just have to do the best I can with what I've got, There's only so much you can do. So I guess I should take opportunities when they come. So like this gaming channel thing, I'll do my best. Wish me luck kind of stuff with that. But if I don't get it, it doesn't matter, because I'll just keep doing the same things that I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, I suppose one thing is if I did get the job, I'd be able to pay for a new computer a lot more easily. But, it's not a big concern. I can always ask my parents to loan me some money and then pay it back over a while. Degree gives you leeway. People without papers have nothing. Just to some extent, it depends. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you're living, but hey, thank you. There are plenty of things where you don't have degrees where you can actually get paid more than someone who has a degree. So if you take up a trade, they don't, like, especially at a girls' school, private girls' school, they don't talk about how trades could actually be really good, because if you pick the right trade and you're good at it, you can make a decent amount of money, because, people are always going to need their plumbing done or their electricity done. There's no way around it, there's an extent to which some people can DIY stuff, but you might really badly fuck it up. Whereas like social media managers, right? You can get degrees in that shit now, but if, say, Facebook crashes and, all their servers burn or something, I don't know, let's think of a Facebook apocalypse, right? What are you gonna do then? What if the internet dies, People are still gonna need their plumbing done, but your social media career will be dead, And you could get a degree in all kinds of useless stuff. But practical skills are the ones that we need the most. It's a shame we don't pay our farmers more, because they're pretty essential. Starting your own business is the way to go with a trade. Yeah, if you want to, or you could work for someone, but, there's a lot of money to be made in those areas where you don't need a degree. You could do vocational training and have an apprenticeship. sometimes you don't even need to actually go to a formal training thing, depending on how you get into an industry, you know. There's a lot of potential for people who haven't been to colleges, and especially in America. America's college system sounds fucked, especially with the way it's paid for. Treatment of the farmers here is crazy, yeah. But America, like, you know, you could go get a degree, have $100,000 in debt to an actual, like, Australia's, I have $100,000, I think, in educational debt, probably. I mean, I haven't really properly calculated, but I'm pretty sure I have $100,000 in educational debt. But it's to the government, and they don't chase me until I earn a certain amount. Good luck to them. I mean, you know, maybe one day I will make enough that they'll actually try and get some of that back, but they don't harass you like America's educational debt system. It sounds like people are really struggling to pay it back, and it really affects their lives. So, you know, the way it's set up is shit. And then they work to get a degree and then find they can't get a job in that degree. And so what did you go into all that debt for, just to have to scrape back what you can to pay it back and not really get ahead? America sounds like it's not really working well. I have a small school debt, and the Department of Education was going to garnish my wages 15%. I don't know. America sounds really tough in so many ways, and the educational debt as well. Whereas if you just stayed in retail or whatever, because some of those guys who have degrees, they end up having to go back to retail, and if they hadn't gone to school, they'd be in retail, but they wouldn't have the debt they have to pay back, you know? So if I was living in America today, I might hesitate to go to college, university, whatever you want to call it. Very, very tricky stuff there now. Like, is it really worth it in America? For some things, maybe, and in some locations, maybe, but there are other places where it's just like, at least from what I've been able to see online, I may not be getting the full story, but for some people, it's like, why bother going to uni in some places? And then, of course, America has more political stuff going on in universities, which doesn't help. Australia, I mean, I think generally universities do tend to be left-leaning, and I've seen that in Australia as well, but it's nowhere near as bad as what I've seen in places like America or Canada or whatever. Aussies, I think, are a little bit laid back for that. I mean, you do see it, but it's not as extreme yet. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's stuff that's going on. What time is it? It must be about 4 now. Yeah, 4 o'clock. So, Mikey could come home any minute. Is there any last minute stuff you want to raise with me before I have to run off? This is your chance to ask me things. If you want to ask me stuff about any of my recent videos, if you want to ask me stuff about upcoming plans, my music, my art, whatever, random topic, if I know enough about it to have a ramble about it. Because some of you just watch the streams and you're very quiet, which is fine, because I know some of you just like to listen along, you know, with this in the background. But because we're about to wrap up, if you do have any questions or anything you want me to comment on, now would be the time. And I try and say this at the end of a lot of streams, but it's just tumbleweeds. That's okay. I can keep making noises. Any more line art in the works? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that. I try with the Patreon, right? I try and do one sort of visual art type thing every month, so I'll definitely try and have a go at that. It's hard to decide where to start, though, I gotta say. And also, like, what's my next step? Because I tested those new paint markers. So now it's like, okay, what's my next step? What should I try? Should I try and do something on, like, proper acrylic paper? Or I've got, like, these little cardboard things that I've been saving up that I'm like, these are a nice thing that, you know, I could do something on. It's just like cardboard from when you go shopping, and, you know, sometimes clothing comes on cardboard. It's just that, but it was nice shaped. So I was like, maybe I could do something on that. Or do I just go straight to the acrylic paper and start trying to do more artsy kind of stuff? And then also, if I'm using paper, another thing I'm thinking about is, do I need to leave space to frame them? Like, should I be drawing in a border that I don't go past? Because I realized with some of my test stuff, like that test fire one, I went right to the borders, which makes it really hard to frame. I mean, you could glue it down on something, but that's not always ideal. It's not always what you want. So maybe I need to make a little bit of space and, like, make smaller artworks on those A5 pages, and then when I got to A4, make small bits. like, you know, smaller than A4 on the inside of it. I probably need to think about that kind of stuff a little bit more, and, you know, how do I manage that? There's a lot to think about there, but at least I'm set up with my materials. I'm happy with the paint markers, especially the ones that can draw over the top of black. That's fun to use. So I could probably explore that a little bit more. Just sort of wondering, like, where do I take this project next? And then ultimately, you know, once I run out of paper, I kind of want to get back to the wooden boards that I've painted on before, but I would do it with the drawing style and see how that turns out. It's just that those are a bit more expensive, whereas I've actually got a lot of acrylic paper around, you know, like it's paper that's actually set up for acrylic. So, you know, I should probably use some of that before I start spending money again on wooden boards. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to think about there. So this month, what do I do with my line art? I'm not sure. Maybe if I get into a mood, maybe I need to focus more on the word side of things, because now I've got the actual design, like the technique and all that kind of stuff. But what story do I want to tell with my art? So maybe I need to think more about the word side, because part of that project is to combine my visual arts with text, because one of my teachers at uni was like, gee, you write a lot, you know, these blogs that you've written about this art stuff was really interesting. Maybe you should look at art that involves text somehow. So, you know, I guess I've got to think more about the text side of things, and just see what, especially because I'm writing poetry again, you know, if I start thinking about words, and I've also got to write lyrics. So if I start thinking more words and expressing stuff that's, you know, on the inside, especially now that I'm back in Crazyland, what? So, you know, maybe I'll have more to say. I used to think that being depressed made me more creative, but I think the last one just went so far down there that I couldn't really, like, you know, it sort of numbed a bit of my creative impulses. The only way I could stay creative was going to uni where I had to be creative. On the upside of that, you know, not having destroyer stuff is I could actually explore different topics and not be so narrow. So it broadened up, you know, ideas and so on. But yeah, I think now that I'm not depressed and I feel like pieces of me are slowly coming back still, maybe now I will be able to be more creative. It's just sort of deciding exactly how, and what stories I want to tell. And, you know, day to day probably depends on exactly how crazy I am. So, yeah, that's sort of the vague gist of what's on my mind about the line art stuff. I've just got to think, what do I want my next exploration to be in the development of that style? Because ultimately I want to have a body of work that I could maybe take to an actual gallery and have an exhibition of. It's just I've really got to develop whatever I am doing, and I seem like I'm getting closer and closer to having a real idea. It's just there's more work to be done. And especially not being at uni anymore, it's harder to give myself deadlines. So having the Patreon with the sort of monthly, that like kind of thing going on, that helps me give some kind of deadline. But it's a little bit different to being at a university, where I guess there's a little bit more guidance and so on. So I've just got to, yeah, focus, figure things out. What do I want to say? So we'll see how that goes. Hope that answers that kind of question. You think your music would work on with techno beats, 4 on the floor with distorted bass drum, like the D16 Devastated distortion? I'm not familiar with this D16 thing, but like if you listen to Rainbow Death Ray's EP, some of the drums I used were more artificial kinds of drums rather than the realistic sounding ones. I think on my Asexuality EP, I used more realistic kinds of drums for most of the tracks. So I have played with different kinds of ones. Also, in the song that I'm writing now, for anyone who's on my Patreon, there is a little bit of a doof, 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 doof kind of beat in certain sections of that song, which was kind of fun to play with. I'm so used to working with more heavy metal kinds of sounds that it just like, I don't do enough of that sort of simplification. I've spent too much time on double kick, so it was nice going from this whole double kick pattern into this straight kind of, you know, not thinking too hard kind of feel. And then I'm sitting listening to it back, thinking about lyrics, and then that gets up to that section, and I'm like, yeah,
this is kind of fun because I used to do dance. And I guess like it's been so long, I get so into metal. I should maybe go back to some of that dance stuff, just not too much because that would drive me crazy. I mean, what am I saying? I am already crazy. Would drive me crazier. Definitely has a techno feel, yeah. Especially because I'm using electronic instruments because I'm not really good at guitar. Yeah, but I think is someone here? I think time's up. But yeah, no, once I put some vocals on that, it'll be interesting. Anyway, I think that's someone. I'm gonna have to go. So I'll see you next time whenever whatever, and bye bye.